What is going on, everybody? It is episode 198 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. It's raining outside today. Kind of ominous, but cozy vibes. Perfect to have Shane Cashman on.
Thank you. That is who I am.
That is your
and
name.
It's good to be here. Yeah, I noticed like the yellow leaves falling on the ground today on the cobblestone. I got very Halloween vibes, feeling like really good.
Fall is coming.
I saw 2 ghosts on a porch in my town. It made me very happy. My
Thank
son
you.
asked if we could go to the Halloween store and find bats, which
Spirit
I was offended.
Halloween,
I was
baby.
offended because I was like, I gave you a real bat. Like he has a bat in his room, a petrified bat. I was like, that should be good enough. Not the fake bats.
Wait, he has like a taxidermied?
It's not taxidermy.
Bat?
It's petrified. I found it underneath a bed.
I like how he thinks that's better somehow. Like, is that different?
Yeah, because it doesn't mean someone like opened up the bat and then put the stuff
Stuffed
in
it,
it. It means I
yeah.
found it beautifully like mummified, and I said, "This is perfect
Where
for my
did you
future
find
son." It was underneath the bed in the house that used to belong to Ulysses S. Grant in Garrison, New York. And I was a furniture.
Is this a
mover.
bit? I feel like this is a bit.
I swear. I swear to you guys.
No. This is just Shane being committed to his bit.
I say, yeah. I've been in the bit for 37 years.
Like
so you guys are just like intersecting with that now, but no, I'm being dead serious.
No, I love that.
And
That's
it's in a
beautiful
little. I got a
gift.
little box for it and everything with a sliding door.
Have you seen the baby onesies that say "I've been in the joint for 9 months"?
Perfect. I'm gonna get that for the bat.
perfectly
I'll get a little
chewy.
onesie for the bat. But yeah, hi. Thanks for having me.
So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. On top of it, by the way, I want to let you know that come this time of year, I post I follow a bunch of it's just like Instagram pages that like post pictures of like fall.
Oh, I
and
like
autumn. I'm very much I'm one pumpkin spice latte
Christian
away
girl
from being
autumn.
Yeah, like what was it? The joke is like they all end up dressing like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
Or Han Solo, not
Gotta
Obi-Wan
have the
Kenobi.
knee-high leather boots and the infinity scarf.
Yep.
Do you guys drink pumpkin stuff?
I do not.
You don't?
I'm not into pumpkin.
Okay. I already had my first pumpkin drink of the year.
But I love this time of year.
Yeah, I do
fall is usually, I mean, it's not quite fall yet, but fall is easily my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
My other favorite is a meme. It's all, a bunch of women like dressed like that. They've got like the faded blue jeans on in the outfit. And it says, if all the spellings of Ashley were one photo. It's like 9 different women.
EIGH. At the
Oh,
end.
there's
Oh, yeah.
nothing worse than the EIG. I'm like, your mom did not spell it that way. You're lying. You're lying. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We are going to talk about, and by the way, I'm going to preface this that we've had 2 like stop and starts that I think are due to weather. So we're hoping that the power doesn't go out. So bear with us if it does. We apologize. We're doing our best here. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about Netflix. They're launching their ad tier service sooner rather than they were expecting, in my opinion, to compete with Disney, to get ahead of the track on Disney. And they've also banned certain types of ads, which I find fascinating. We are going to talk about the continuingly sad, tragic case that is Britney Spears post conservatorship. I don't mean that in like a mean way. I do mean it's kind of tragic. And we are also going to talk about the Hollywood blacklist and what I believe to be an industry that tells you it doesn't exist, and then in the same breath tells you that it does exist, and then kind of just expects you not to make the connection. A la Alec Baldwin. We got that. We got Podluck, so we can just get right into it. If you guys are ready, Mary, are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Shane, are we ready?
Let's do it.
You know that I always falter when I'm going to say the guest name. Like some days I'm like, it's Shane. I'm like, Hannah Claire. And then it's Hannah
Please.
Claire. I'm like,
Call me Hannah
I
Claire.
say everything but the right person's name. So I have to like.
I've never been able to tell.
No,
so.
I don't make
No,
a
me
mistake, but
neither.
I like stop. And then I have to like catch myself before I make that mistake. So before we get into it
Okay.
though, guys, we've got something special that we haven't had in a while, and that is a Chet formation.
We gave you guys a break, but he's back. He's
d-
back, baby.
This one is special because it's pop culture related.
Okay, cool.
It intersects into our industry, if you will. So let's get right into it. So Chet Hanks has something to say about the movie Fight Club.
Epitomizes the whole concept of self-actualizing into your higher self. Edward Norton in that movie represents our ordinary self, or the self that's just stuck in our own ways. Because he's completely unable to reflect and create any change in himself, he hallucinates this character of Tyler Durden, who's played by Brad Pitt, who's the exact opposite of him in every way, calling him through the events that take place to become him. In doing so, he creates a massive impact. Point is that he turns into a person who's capable of impacting the world in a massive way. All of us have that version of ourselves that's calling out to us, that's desperately trying to shake us up by shedding all of our bad habits and doing the necessary steps in order to self-actualize into that completely developed individual.
Thoughts?
That's the most like positive spin on Fight Club I've ever heard.
What
in my
would the
life.
negative spin on it be?
He's a man who's got a terrible psychological issue, suffering from insomnia. And I don't even know if I can say the next part on YouTube. I'll try to clean it up for the kiddos, but then you have to take something, a very dangerous weapon, and swallow that to fix it in the end.
Yes. Unless you're in the Chinese version where they actually no, it's still true in the Chinese version.
Do they still end it that
they
way?
They edit it where I forgot. They get caught. Like he gets caught and they prevent the attack.
But the ending of that movie has one of the best songs ever by the Pixies. Where's My Mind? But that's a beautiful spin on one of my favorite books of all time. But I just think it's a little too beautiful.
You think it's too beautiful for Chet, or
no?
too
I mean,
beautiful for
if you guys think I'm doing a bit, this guy is like he's on brand with that. That's the perfect Chet like interpretation of that movie.
I love it. I love that. I love when you can just take something that probably wasn't meant that way and just distill it down to whatever your worldview is, and
that's kind of what Chet usually does.
Yeah, it's perfect.
He makes it work.
But he has a point also. Like he is. Edward Norton's character is manifesting something that he can't and becoming a quote unquote better self. I don't know if you want to say better, we could discuss that later, but it's a different version than himself and one that gets him, I don't know what you want to call it, notoriety. It's not really success, but he's breaking the horrible cage of his life.
That ushered in like a whole era of films of like people who were like bored with their everyday life and wanted to be something more. I actually kind of hated that trope in Hollywood. I didn't like a lot of people.
When I mentioned American Beauty, that's exactly what you said.
Or even if you want to go the pulp route, like the movie Wanted with Angelina Jolie and James McAvoy. Like that's at the edge of where that trope was kind of starting to, I feel, die off. But
it's also kind of maybe given birth to every music video where like the people in the band are in a menial job and they have to break out of it by doing something, Fight Club-ish, which we've seen a billion times.
I mean, Office Space is objectively a better. I have a better time at watching Office Space than Fight Club.
Different. Both great.
Yes.
Both great.
Great time. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. So if you guys are ready, we'll just get right into it now. We're gonna talk about Netflix. So it says Netflix ad tier gets early launch, and I do believe that Disney is launching on December 8th. And what they're doing here is they're moving it up to November 1st because after 2 consecutive quarters in which they lost subscribers, they like predicted like a large growth in the next quarter.
But it wasn't a net loss of subscribers though, right? No. They gained more than they lost.
Well, they lost 970,000 subscribers in the one quarter and 125,000 in the first quarter. I don't know if that attributes to net loss.
I think that was just a U.S. and Canada. Numbers
the 970 was. So it says they've moved up the release date because Disney is launching their ad tier related service on December 8th, and Netflix was originally going to do this first of the year on January 1st. So it says, according to Variety, Netflix has moved up the timeline to get its ad-supported tier out in the public before Disney Plus, which is set to set their ad tier at December 8th. Netflix ad-supported tier, initially targeted for early of 2023 launch date, will now be rolled out in multiple countries, including U.S., Canada, UK, France, Germany. Remember when we were talking about before, every time Netflix wants to guinea pig, they dump it on like Chile and a bunch of countries that like you're like why are they? Why
did they do that yet with the password thing?
That's exactly what they were doing.
They actually did do it, and I wonder if they lost a lot of people in those places. And now they're like, okay.
And from what I understand, $7 to $9 a month is what you're going to pay for ad tier.
Yeah, they haven't announced it exactly yet.
I have this article. I found this at the very last minute. It says $7 to $9 price range for its new ad tier supported content. Do you guys have any interest in? I mean, if you're going to, everyone knows my take. I'm on a one-man jihad against ads. I think ads are the worst thing to happen to
I think
media.
They cheapen the experience.
Yes.
So I'm of two minds with this particular story. I think for one, they cheapen the experience. I don't use Netflix anymore either. If I do, I steal my mother-in-law's.
Borrow.
I steal it. No, I steal it from my mother-in-law so I can watch like a Dave Chappelle special.
I like the idea that you actually you don't tell her. Like
I break into her house and I find the password in her Rolodex, and then I get into Netflix that way. But what I enjoyed about that platform was that it kind of felt like a portal into whatever you were watching without any distortion outside.
Netflix?
Yeah, like how I'd watch it. At least I couldn't not watch Netflix, and do anything else.
I'm the opposite. I don't sit still very well. Like when we review stuff, it goes against every fiber of my being to sit there. And when it's something I really like, I can do that. But then Hollywood hasn't made a show that I love so much that I can. The Wire was like the last show that I rediscovered. I had seen it years earlier, but rediscovered it and sat and watched it through the whole way. Reacher and the Terminalist. Even the Terminalist, I still got up and fidgeted and did work and did other stuff.
That's just you, though.
That's just me. That's just me.
I mean, lately, as I've been using Netflix, I feel like I'm being advertised to, even though there are no ads.
How so?
Yeah.
Because they push their originals so hard, and the fact that you have to scroll through with things auto playing at you is so sensory overload for me that I don't even want to use it over other platforms.
The worst is like when it runs like the commercial version of it, like you hover over it. And,
it tries to get you in with some kind of mini trailer, like
super loud.
I guess that works on like NPCs or something, but not me.
I actually thought you were going to take that in another direction, because I remember watching Stranger Things when that first came out, and to me, the show itself felt like a commercial of nostalgia, and like not so much that the platform was promoting itself, which I also see that, but it was like it was inserting different ideas and stuff that felt, all that stuff, whether it's nostalgia or product placements, it felt more commercial. Like even in the new one, I haven't even seen it, but when they do the Metallica thing, like that just becomes a meme and a commercial outside of itself.
I think that Stranger Things did a really good job of appealing to multiple generations because of the nostalgia factor, but then also showing teenagers, for them to relate to audience close to that age range, or even like kids, like watching shows about older kids than them, and it's like more aspirational. They were exceptional in that way, and then also that Stranger Things isn't derivative of anything but itself now. That's kind of a pitfall it has too.
When I watched season 1, it seemed like derivative of everything. Maybe not anymore, but like in the first season, it was like Stephen King and Spielberg, just remixed, which was fun. And they did a really good job. I really enjoyed it.
There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I would argue that in an age now where I'm forced to watch every show get made differently than it actually was meant to be in its literary form, I'd rather they just, like when we were talking Rings of Power, I'm like, just make the same exact show, change Middle Earth to like Midland and everything else, and give it a different name, and you'll earn, I mean, everyone will know it's a ripoff, but you're arguably still going to have better
We'll get into that
reception.
Later on.
So it says right here that they were expecting a soft 65 cost per 1,000 views. That's what they were looking to get from ad buyers.
And I wasn't aware that the industry norm would be $20 CPM.
Sub 20, so less. So even
20.
less than 20. But when you think about when they're talking about what was Stranger Things, like several billion minutes viewed, how does that distill down to ad? They never show you plays; they show you minutes viewed. Now that's the big marketing push. It's like when Chris Pratt was talking about the Terminal, he's like, we had 1.4 billion minutes viewed. I'm like, I don't know what that means. What does that mean, and how many people clicked on it? And the problem with this is without the things like Nielsen or even box office numbers, which are subject to, like, I guess, would it be government oversight because you can't false report on stuff like that?
I don't know.
Like it would be,
why do streamers get to false report or selectively report?
Well, that's what my question was. I was like, if it's a private company, that makes sense. But if you're a publicly traded company, that information shouldn't be private. It should be, at least at the very least, it should be open to your investors, if not the public at large. So it says he's guessing that they won't get that, and then they really get into the fact that they are going to put a lot of restrictions on what type of stuff, what kind of ads you can have at Netflix, which I find really, really fascinating. First of all, no crypto ads, which is good because all those.
Why is that good?
Because I am sick to death of getting fake crypto ads on my Instagram from people who have no fault. Me and Andy joke about this all the time. It's like, he's a crypto kingpin.
Scammers?
Yeah, like spam.
Sure, I understand filtering for scam ads and gambling ads especially. But
I mean, crypto gambling.
The kids should know about Doge.
Like, I don't know how I feel about that, because I think in the future they're going to have to rely on cryptocurrency for subscriptions.
Oh, that's good.
Well, they will likely...
People are going to have to start paying... I mean, now that just the option is open, like to use Litecoin at Walmart, like that's a
boy.
big step. And now in the future, if people want to use crypto to pay for these streaming services and different tiers of them, it doesn't make much sense that they wouldn't be able to advertise
To
on
me,
them.
it sounds like Netflix is trying to politicize crypto without politicizing crypto,
Yeah.
because they're saying they're not
Facebook
also
did
not
the
going to
same
do
thing.
Yeah, and I
presidential
don't
ads
understand
and
that
stuff like
either,
that.
because if Facebook's future is Meta, and
Which is all
that
will be
is
crypto.
completely
Crypto-
synonymous with
it might be in competition.
They
with,
could be
and
waiting-
They're going to release their own
their
that was
own
the thing.
non-crypto
marketplace.
crypto.
That was a thing.
Yeah.
That, they were going to do that for a while.
Yeah,
Meta,
they probably still will.
Meta dumped a bunch of money into research for doing their own cryptocurrency, and then
Yeah.
a bunch of
That's
stuff
what's
came
gonna
out about the government wanting to regulate it, and they're like, maybe that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for like GovCoin to come out, and it'll be
That will happen.
I know,
That
I know,
will
it's going to be
happen.
awful. So they point out that due to regulatory scrutiny, crypto bans are nothing new for digital asset industry. In 2018, social media giant Meta banned crypto ads across the platform before reinstating them the next year. So that's what's funny about that is that does that prove the power of like the growing crypto lobby? Because I do see stuff like that all the time. The American blockchain, like there's the Blockchain of America PAC and stuff like that. Different groups that are lobbying for cryptocurrency in the open market. I do have to ask, do I have any crypto investors in my presence today?
I went straight to the moon with Doge. When I made more money off Doge than I did as a professor.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
But I made more. Whenever that whole thing happened with Doge, I made a decent amount, and I feel like crypto can be a beautiful thing because it gave people the opportunity to have a currency outside of the government regulation.
We should ask if we can get paid in GameStop.
I think
GameStop
that was
stocks.
always a ticking time bomb, though.
Yeah,
And what we're finding is like the powers that be will not tolerate
you.
of course.
that
Yeah,
for
the second
long.
they said they
and
wanted
it
to
was
regulate
basically if you had the lucky timing of investing in a certain coin, then good for you. But I don't think that's a long-term solution.
It maybe not.
Buy
It
and
depends.
hold.
It depends what your definition of long term is. Because right now, I don't know how it is right now. I actually got rid of all of mine, but I bought Doge when it was like. Even saying Doge sounds disgusting. So my apologies.
It is
out there. It
disgusting.
sounds disgusting, but it is
Why?
what it is. It just the word I just don't like it. I might be saying it wrong too. I don't know, but
Doja.
again, I don't like it. I like her,
It was always Doge.
but
Doja. I'm thinking more
I got
to, like, 90s rap.
and it was
lyrics,
like
but okay.
6 cents or something, and then you saw it go to 50 or 60 cents. So it was like an experience and it was fun. But I think I don't know what them banning it just makes it look better. I think it's like the Streisand effect.
Then what are your takes on the banning of political ads?
That to me, I like. But again, I
Why
think
do you like
Netflix is a
that?
political organ.
That's true.
Because Netflix is already political. They hire people like
Just
the
by
Obamas.
the stuff they choose to make makes them inherently political, anyways. But
honestly, as you're questioning me, I feel like I might be taking back my stance on banning anything. Unless it's hurting children.
They're going
Unless it's hurting
to
children.
discriminate politically if they do sell political ad space. So
If it's inconsistent, then I have a problem.
it's
If
going
they
to be if they allow it at all.
If they open it up to everybody, then that's whoever. I can't even think of someone right now.
well, then with in the same vein of your viewing numbers in your stats, you'll never know for sure that they're opening it up fairly to everyone. You'll never be able to prove.
And
Right.
Will they target you? Like depending
How
on where
would you
are.
prove that they even played it? Like, say you're Donald DeSantis, a politician that doesn't exist. Donald DeSantis, and you want to buy ad space on Netflix, and they say we played your ad this many times. How do you prove that? How do you know that's actually what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, the
That's
FCC,
what they rely on is keeping things under the table and
It's like shadow
shifting
banning.
things around
Which is the
before
whole
the right
problem.
eyes can get on it.
As far as I understand, this is basically the same problem as Elon with Twitter, where
Yeah.
they didn't disclose the bot stuff.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah, that's
selling
what I was thinking of.
advertisements saying we have this many hits or whatever. Meanwhile, it could have been that 30, 40% of those, maybe more, were bot hits. So it's all fake because the internet's dead.
Another thing I found interesting, I looked at the Variety article that covered all the same information, but they mentioned that Netflix poached the parent company of Snapchat's two top ad executives, Jeremy Gorman and their vice president of sales, Peter Naylor.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of like the wheelhouse they're in is still social media, and like Bitmoji is a whole like a section of their company to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's like where we were headed toward avatars and the metaverse.
Yep.
Like years ago, being prepped for this by the same executives who are just shifting between companies doing the exact same thing.
Now we're talking.
Working toward the same goals.
Now we're talking. These are incremental.
Do I sound crazy?
Yes. No.
I
These are
remember-
incremental steps across the platforms to get us all
prepping
into the
you
metaverse.
for-
Because
yeah.
I was just thinking about this yesterday. It's like people who still are like hypochondriacs. Like the hypochondriac class will be the ones that inherit the metaverse.
They're up
It's
there.
there for
them. Really?
They're up there with the consultant class, the hypochondriac class.
Yes, but because they're the ones who don't want to go outside, they want to experience a real world, and they're going to see the metaverse as this beautiful utopia where there's no sickness and there's fake money and avatars and all this stuff.
It reminds me of Jessica on Slack one day, or maybe it might have been like a regular message. She was talking about how, like whenever you hear like a social media message, or whenever you watch like a reel on Instagram or anything like that, and you hear the robot voice, it's like, how try not to laugh. It's like she's like,
and it's trying to make that something laughable.
She believes that if I remember correctly, she was saying like they're trying to prep you for like hearing robot voices instead of human voices. That's crazy, dude.
And look, whether or not it's intentional, it doesn't matter because it is just prepping you for the inevitable future of the robots.
And all this while you're just trying to watch Stranger Things season 32 and they've all got beards and I say open it up wide. I don't even want I say take the black pill and go Wild West on political ads. I don't want them to have to acknowledge like who they work for, just be able to make stuff up and lie.
Are they going to sell ad space to the Taliban?
Laissez-faire ad space for everyone.
Yeah, I was like my instant like confirmation bias felt good when I read the article, and they're thinking about not selling it, not doing ads with pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, that's cool, but again, it's like maybe just who cares, just open up to everything, unless it's like targeting children. I really don't want to do that, hurting children anyway.
No ads on Coco Melon. Leave the ads off.
I don't think Netflix has a reputation of championing children's safety.
I'd have to say you're right.
Or innocence. Right. So, and we're gonna get into that.
I also want to point out that they said that they're expecting to get 500,000 new subscribers for their ad tier service by the end of the year. So they want to get 500,000 in the first 2 months.
So if you're already a subscriber, are you just going to be bumped up to premium, or are you going to be bumped down to the ad tier?
Just the other day I was looking. I was watching something on Hulu. It says price increase coming in a month or something like that.
So it warns you, and you're going to stay premium, so they get more.
They're never going to default you to the cheaper option. That's not a thing. That is not a thing.
When you're watching Hulu, does it like pause the show and like, just so you know, we will increase the pay rate?
It was when I opened the app.
Oh, okay.
On my thing. Yeah, like
what a bummer.
I hate ads.
At least Netflix, unlike Disney Plus, clarified that for movies, you're only going to get an ad roll before the movie and not anywhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I hate when it interrupts
a
movie because they pick like a certain part of it that's like they think is clever.
Right.
Well, one of my favorite things to watch is when you watch TV like from old shows that are designed for the network formula, which are 42 to 45 minutes with like 4 to 6 ad breaks in beneath. Mm-hmm. The scene ends in this really like clearly a place where it was about to be like a Swiffer jet ad like right after it.
Yeah.
And like you're just like, and then it picks back up. And what you notice from a lot of old TV shows is a lot of ads, like a lot of scenes used to end by fading out or fading to black, and that's far less common as storytelling has evolved.
Yep.
In television. So it's like now I would argue that they've never really learned how to make good television without ads. Like most of these places don't. I watched the new episode of The Patient last night, and it was fine, but I feel like the pacing, I mean, granted that show is supposed to be operating at a slower pace anyways. I don't think there's a lot of shows that have figured out how to tell good storytelling without the need for, like, they almost use the ad breaks as like a crutch for like where to end their act.
You know who did? Well, I'm not gonna say that I enjoyed it, but it was almost like sometimes they were needed commercial breaks. Was during 24.
Well, that's because it's like not like you'll have to like check your pulse to make sure you're not
like, I'm still alive. Yeah.
Well,
I'll buy this pharmaceutical now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an ad for like a sleep aid. Like
blood
like,
pressure.
Yeah. Bring your blood pressure down with this, and they're
have
like,
you recently been waterboarded?
Yeah. Now I need to go back and watch.
It's so good.
It's great. It's I've been watching a show called Shetland, which is it's like Scottish, I believe, or Irish.
Sounds like it.
You can barely understand what they're saying, and I love
I
it.
thought it was going to be Chetland.
No.
It's just a bunch of Chets. Sorry.
That's
Sorry, one dad joke
Old
for the day.
joke.
Oh, shoot. Dang.
Yeah, somebody beat you to. I mentioned it yesterday, but I highly recommend. I want to tell everyone again to go and watch this show because it's so beautifully shot.
Where is it?
It's shot in.
I'm sorry, what platform?
It is on BritBox.
What? What is that?
I love British TV.
Okay.
It's so much less annoying than
Yeah.
American television.
Yeah.
I've been watching that, and you'd really like Whitechapel. That was the other
Yeah.
one I mentioned yesterday. Given that you enjoy horror,
I do.
and it's not a horror show, but it's a darker in tone. The
Okay.
first season is about catching a Jack the Ripper copycat.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Oh, I want to ask you real quick. Do you like American Horror Story
Never
or any
watched
of these
it.
seasons?
Never watched any of it.
I think that's one that's. It looks to me like it's gone majorly downhill over the years.
I've heard people
In
say
terms
that.
of
It looks
TV
like it could be
horror.
pretty cool, but I don't know anything about it. But in terms of British TV, what was that Ricky Gervais show he did?
He did The Office.
No. No, like the one where he's like a caretaker.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, that's a great show on British TV.
I've found that I love most of it. It's not even
It's
police.
called Derek.
It's not. I realize it's not police shows. That as much as I love those in America, in the UK it tends to be like just mysteries
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I haven't watched much of that. I mean, people keep telling me I should watch Doctor Who. I haven't done
The
that.
new or old one?
My mother-in-law loves all of it, but she loves like the old stuff. She said I'd like it, and one day, but it just seems like a lot to take on. There's like
yeah, the longer
infinite
a show goes
seasons.
on, the harder it is to commit to like 15 seasons of something.
Uh-oh. I hope we didn't just have a power surge.
We did. We might. Guys, can somebody let me know if we lost the stream?
Oof.
I'm still. It says.
And
I'm
it was
still,
just about to get based.
Yep.
oh,
Guys, are we still connected? Mary, can you double check?
Yeah, let's see.
We love you guys.
Yeah, the
we're
chat's
good.
still going.
We're good.
Sweet.
Okay. Do you guys want to just get into super chats?
Okay.
I mean,
Do you feel nervous? Okay.
no. We've just
Yeah.
we've sufficiently like left the topic.
All right. Waffle Sensei said, whenever I scroll Netflix, I have to turn the volume all the way down on my TV so that it won't blast ads for shows every time I hover over something.
That is the worst. It is the worst part. It is absolutely.
That's
the
why
worst
I
part
already
of it.
feel like I have an ad tier of Netflix. It
Yeah.
never wasn't there. Waffle Sensei said they do this so that you don't have time to scroll through and see it's all trash on Netflix. They just want you to click quickly and pick something.
I mean, there's always the memes that are like, it's like me scrolling through Netflix for 4 hours before settling on the same comedy special I watch every time.
Which
Like,
is?
no, I don't watch the comedy specials.
Never?
I've watched them to review. Guys,
The lights are still
the
flickering.
lights are still
Shane,
flickering.
this is your
This is
fault.
all your fault, Shane.
Weird
the
things do
paranormal
happen
guy.
when I come
It's
here.
always
I'm
Shane.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Caper2X said, Shane, are you a West Point graduate? Hooah.
I'm not, but my parents are
Where'd you get
coaches
that?
there. My parents coach. I grew up in West Point. My parents. I live on a
Equestrian.
farm. My parents coached you.
Wait, no.
No.
No, I don't got it.
All I've got is the most recent from Waffle Sensei, guys. It says American Horror
It doesn't
Story.
even show it on your monitor.
No, it's because it restarted.
Guys, we're sorry.
We love you guys. We're just gonna keep going. This is less frustrating to me than when we had the audio issues.
You weren't.
Really?
She wasn't here that day.
Yeah, I was gone.
The audio issues
Again,
were worse.
me.
Okay.
So
Waffle
it's my
Sensei,
apologies.
it is you. It's Shane's fault. Everyone shame him.
Shame.
Shame
Go for
Shane. Waffle Sensei said American Horror Story parts 1 through 4 with Jessica Lange. Is it Lange or Lange?
I think it's lying.
Lange were awesome. Once Jessica Lange left the show, it all went to crap.
Yep. All right. You know what, guys? We're just gonna keep going. We got the TVs out back
I
there. too
feel
behind
so
you.
bad for the people who super chatted who we can't read your message.
Guys, we can't see.
I
those-
guess
those
just
past
send it
super
again
chats.
if you feel strongly about it.
If you felt that strongly about it, but we're gonna keep going, guys.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna move on, and we're gonna talk about Britney Spears. Do you wanna lead this one?
Sure. So Britney Spears recently posted another audio venting session this time on her Instagram instead of YouTube. The last one was like 22 minutes long. This one was 3 minutes long. So we can show you a couple of clips from it. Basically, at the end of it, she announces that she is now an atheist. And it's because she doesn't believe a God can exist if he allowed something like all the struggles she's been through to happen to her.
And I wanted to hear your opinion on that, but let's listen to the clip first.
Yeah, so it's also directed at her sons, too, who haven't been seeing her.
So I'm going to play the part from 24 seconds, right?
Yeah, 24 seconds, and then we can play the end.
Do you guys want me to get better so I can continue to give your dad 40 grand a month?
It's not always about...
Oh, I sent you one.
I can
messaged
totally
you it.
understand why my family would have a problem with. So Jaden, as you undermine my behavior, just like my whole family
Thank you.
always has, with I hope she gets better. I will pray for her. Pray for what? I keep working so I can pay off mom's legal fees in her house. Do you guys want me to get better so I can continue to give your dad 40 grand a month? Or is the reasoning behind you guys deciding to be hateful is because it's actually over in 2 years and you don't get anything? I will say it. I sat in that kitchen and looked you straight in the eyes, beautiful boy, and said, how come I can't see you guys anymore? Or just see you guys more.
And
I
then
look
let's
forward
just go
to
to 2
seeing,
minutes, 30
seeing you guys
seconds.
weekly. You said, Mama, oh, it'll change. You and your brother left me in that house always 2 hours early. I feel you all secretly like to say something's wrong with me. My family has been to me, and that's all you know. Like I said, I feel you all secretly like to say something's wrong with me. Honestly, my dad needs to be in jail for the rest of his life. But like I said, God would not allow that to happen to me if a God existed. I don't believe in God anymore because of the way my children and my family have treated me. There is nothing to believe anymore. I'm an atheist, y'all.
Does the I'm an atheist y'all part kind of undermine the
Bumper
the
sticker. That's
seriousness?
bumper sticker material.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird tone throughout the whole video, and I really don't like just like the sound of I guess dejectedness and cynicism in her voice. That's not what was what I heard in the last clip she posted.
Yeah.
Her last clip was more like hopeful and talking about how she's grown from what she's gone through, and now
Also, is this really stuff to even put out in the public?
absolutely not. And I don't think it's okay that she would address her kids, one of whom is not even 18 yet, which is why she said you have 2 more years and then you don't get anything. That means the one is 16 and the other is 18. She addressed them personally in a video she knows is going to be viewed by millions of people, and she's essentially sicking the entire internet, which dogmatically supports her. I don't, but sicking the entire internet on her kids who never asked to be in the public eye, who have been raised in this insanity their entire lives, who likely have had so much of the truth hidden from them for years, had so many things still to this day twisted, the narrative like completely twisted, and they don't know the truth. They know part of it, that they don't know who to believe, and I think everyone's telling them something different. All they know is that their mom is unstable and she's incapable of caring for herself or them properly.
It's incredibly
you.
sad. Like her voice, like you were saying, like the tone is horrible. And it's
I think it's
dejected,
really just a tone of like kind of cruelty.
nihilism. Like
I
she
hate it.
sounds I don't want to say unhinged because she doesn't sound unhinged, but she
Sounds broken to me.
She's completely broken, and I don't agree. She probably shouldn't be doing this in public, but she probably also doesn't know any other way of doing it. Her whole life has been public,
Right.
and that's, I mean, it's not her fault really, because she's probably kind of sold into celebrity to Hollywood at such a young age. But when she says I'm atheist, y'all, like that to me is just silly, and it almost seems like this is a new shave your head moment. Where I'm gonna cut something
think?
down, like whether it's spiritual or physical, to kind of get back to the people who claim to love me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just
I mean,
seems.
It feels like emotional blackmail.
An adult
in a
should
way.
lead by example by not
Because-
making this public. Like she
Yeah.
should. I mean, I don't know if I should say she should know better, but she should understand the gravity of what she's doing by making this a public
If
matter.
she resents Kevin Federline going to the media and talking about all of this, making it public, then why is she still... She won't relent with the public input on everything, and she won't relent with the social media behavior that her sons find disturbing, like posting almost nude selfies all the time. Like, who would feel comfortable with their mom, who is like 40 something, doing that?
Yep.
Let's talk about God real quick though. Like it seems like she's never read the Bible. I mean, if she's never read Job, I mean, Job is nothing but suffering. And so
right.
she's
And I
claiming-
don't want to discredit that she's like, read up on her own
Tell me about
religion, but like, tell you
about Job.
Let's read it all real quick for Pop Culture Crisis. No, I'm just kidding.
well, it's
Job
an entire book of the Bible centered around this man who was he was a devoted believer and a good man, and he had a lot of riches, and he was just a magnanimous man. And then God, to make it a long story short, God permits the devil to meddle in his life and his person and oppress him for a very long time. He loses everything he has, and he becomes like covered in boils, physically ill.
Takes his family.
He ends up cursing his own birth, and then God comes back. He shows up, and he's like, "Who do you think you are, cursing your own birth like that?"
There's a character in the show Banshee named Job, played by Hoon Lee. I was just curious.
So there's also a Job in Arrested Development.
There you go.
But
It's a
like,
powerful name.
she doesn't have. I don't say she should know her Bible and stuff, but it's just like
Well, that's
to
essentially
undermine-
not what belief in God is about. It's
Yeah.
not about having someone to protect you from all of the struggles
right
in life.
It's not a conservatorship.
It's not a conservatorship. Yes. Yeah.
Maybe this video is just more proof of maybe the whole Free Britney movement was like a collective absurd problem of wanting this woman to fall into the nihilism that we're seeing now, because those nude videos are not right. Not that I give a crap if you're going to post new stuff,
But it
there's
doesn't
something-
come from a place that says she is doing this with full knowledge of what she's
she
doing.
still seems like a hostage when she posts those videos, and they're not right. They're not like right. Like
Yeah.
it's a really weird thing going
It
on. with
always
her.
feels like she's still under someone's thumb.
So it says
Yeah.
Jane also disapproved of his mother's Instagram use, saying it's almost like she has to post something on Instagram to get some attention. This has gone on for years and years and years, and there's a high chance that this will never stop, but I'm hoping for me that she will stop. I mean, she kind of frames him as being like the bad person in this, and
I
he
think
comes,
it's because he's the older son,
yes,
too.
he comes across to me as somebody who's just trying to
Accusing her kids, and especially her older kid who's only 18, of not valuing her as a person, of secretly enjoying watching
part
her
that bothered me.
downfall, of secretly enjoying framing her as the problem in their family. I understand why she'd feel the rest of her family has done that.
You could make
The
the
ones
argument.
who arranged this conservatorship in the first place, but not your sons, and not, even if you believe those things,
Yeah.
do not like say that to the world, who is then going to demonize them,
Yeah.
because she gets endless confirmation bias, anything she wants. Like the Free Britney movement became the Britney is right about everything movement, and Britney is free no matter what you think movement, and she is not free. She's
Almost
not
as if
making free decisions right
They're
now.
saying that like it afforded her wisdom. Like
No.
that's like it seems
Yeah.
like that's what they're saying.
It only gave
she
her
was
the
a monk.
freedom to self-destruct
Yeah.
more. And it's like, I understand also why she would hate people thinking she's incapable, because that was the lie that they used to immobilize her when she was capable. But it's that very abuse that has stunted her growth to this point, where she is not capable
That's
of
something we've
taking
talked
care of
about
her life and her money.
before, I think, on this show, where some celebrities are stunted at the age they became famous, right? And if that's, I mean, seems like a pretty clear example of that for her. She's clearly stunted in like almost like a teenager.
Yeah.
Even though she probably became famous much earlier than that as
She was a Mickey Mouse.
Mouseketeer.
She was
Yeah.
a Mouseketeer.
But I wonder like how much she even knows her own kids and vice versa.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, it comes across as something where Jaden defends his grandfather. She sees her father as a monster. He sees him.
He did monstrous things, but I'm sure in other areas of his life, he's a perfectly nice guy. That's
Yeah.
humanity for you.
That's
That's a little too complex for me to take in. You think?
Yeah, like
I think everything's black and white, Mary.
That's
and-
what this video feels like. She
Yeah.
sees everyone and everything as black black and white.
Yeah.
One of the hard things about doing this job, I think, is people kind of expect you to see everything. And you know, if you develop a show, not a following, but like people that like your stuff, and they agree with you on one thing, they expect you to agree with them on
Right.
on everything.
Yeah.
Not by design, like they think they're always right, but they're just kind of they see you as somebody who, if you agreed on that one thing, then that means you must think similarly all around.
Yeah, it's a
and
very dangerous
I'm
thing
very
to do.
I'm not a fan of the idea of black and white on most
No,
issues.
no, I think you should always keep people around who you could agree with on certain things, or listen to that and disagree on other things, because that'll strengthen your own, immune system of ideas.
I would say that the worst thing that she could have. Stop it, lights.
Here go the lights again.
Stop it, lights, guys. It was
I'll
like,
consult the ghost real quick. Hold on.
I'm gonna
Come
say right
on,
now,
Shane.
I've been up here all day. Not a flicker
It's
of
this
light.
guy.
It's you. It's you.
All right, let's turn off the lights and have a seance real quick.
Let's not.
You got candles, Mary?
I'm
I bet she
Catholic.
does. We could still get an exorcist.
We can do that.
Let's do an exorcism on me right now, live. Pop culture crisis.
So to me, it's one of those things where I, like, when we talked about this, the first time we talked about Britney, we had to kind of preface, like, look, I'm not saying, like, I'm more in the liberty camp. I think she should be free to spend her money as she wants. If she wants to self-destruct, I think that's her right. Do I think it's right of her to do that when she's got kids and family? No, I don't. But I don't think that means that you use a government form and document to keep her locked up and away from her freedom. But in this case, it seems like there's more and more evidence that she's not doing with that freedom. She's not using it in a positive way.
And it makes me suspicious of this man she married.
Sam
Like,
Asghari, yeah.
think about how they talk about these things in private, and why is she coming to the conclusions she's coming to? That her family secretly loves watching her at her lowest. And specifically her sons. I don't think they would ever have given her reason to think that.
Yeah.
It's just cruel to accuse them of that.
The making it public was the
They're
worst part.
kids.
They're children.
They barely understand what is going on.
Do you think this is so? She phrased it as that her suffering through these trials and the way that her family life has been is what makes her no longer believe in God. Does that seem like a common place to take?
That's
traumatic?
such a common mindset these
Yeah.
days,
For a
and it's so
teenager.
sad.
Can you explain?
I mean, not just for a teenager,
Yeah, I know.
for so many adults, for elderly people,
true.
even. Like,
Can you
it's
give me
all
the-
ages, all
That's
stages of
true.
life
That's true.
come to this
I think
conclusion.
do you think that's a modern thing though, a modern phenomenon? Because
It's
like
always been,
because of a society that theoretically suffers less than
but
previous generations.
it's proliferated today, I think, because of, well, there are so many factors to this, but like the abundance of distractions we have.
Yes. Yep.
That's where I was
And
going.
the prosperity gospel that certain Christian preachers sell to people.
Can you explain that?
Like, Joel Osteen is a prevalent preacher who
Who I only know about through Babylon Bee memes.
a lot of people would say he preaches a prosperity gospel, which is that if you believe in Jesus Christ and accept him as your savior, then you will see material outcomes that are beneficial to you. And that has never been authentic to scripture. The whole message really of Jesus was that people are going to hate you for following me, and give up your possessions and follow me. Like, put down everything.
Yeah.
Live simply. So I think maybe prosperity gospel being common, and especially in the U.S., might have something to do with
I think
this.
you had a good point with the too many distractions too, because social media has given the illusion of like immortality to people, and they don't really grow up. It's like immortal teenagers.
Oh, we talk a lot about stunted the fact that adults are growing up less and less.
Right. My wife and I always make fun of people who say they're adulting.
I hate that term.
Right. It's like, so you're just in a costume today as an adult, as a 35-year-old adult. That's insane to me. And like, there are people having less kids or having no kids at older ages. So all that makes people, I think, have
There's a lot of blackpilling around that concept where like there's memes that talks about like you can only have kids if you're crazy or rich.
yeah, it's
Like that's a
ridiculous.
very common thing to hear now. Like only crazy people or rich people have kids.
We had $200 when we had our first son. our
He's
first
like, now we have 201.
now we have 205.
Depending on how much they
But
give us.
Now we have Doge.
He's like, depending on how many of these super chats come my way.
Oh man, no, that's true. But that is, I'm being very serious. We literally were living out of a car. We had an apartment, but we were in a car going to multiple places of jobs. But like having a kid was tantamount.
Thank you.
And brought us joy that no materialism could buy. So I think that's insane when people say that. It's a cop out. So
I think Britney is clearly attached to her money and what it means to other people, maybe more.
Does $40K a month sound light to you guys? Somebody said that in the
To
chat.
Britney Spears' estate,
Yeah.
yes.
Everything's relative.
But I think she feels taken advantage of, rightly so, because she's
Absolutely.
worked as pretty close to a slave for a long time.
Yeah, call me a fence sitter, but on this topic, I, as much as I disagree with her actions as far as like making about her son in public, I absolutely understand where the defense mechanism comes from.
But I hate that she's acting like her sons are taking advantage of her through this child support, an agreement which was made before they were even aware of what child support means, what divorce means, what custody means. Yeah. Like, they're not responsible for that. If you have a problem with the fact that you give $40,000 a month to your ex-husband, take it up with him. Don't use it as something to bludgeon your children with.
Can we just real quick talk? I mean, she's one of the best pop stars, I think, that we've ever had in terms of music.
She had her moment. I think they took over her music and her creative control early enough that for a long time her music has been mid.
She is like a conduit of writers. So I don't think she is the artist herself, but she's like the avatar for a lot of like 20 teen writers, because all her songs are written by committee, like Brett always says.
Like even when EDM came into pop music, they used EDM in her music instantly, and I don't even think she decided on that.
Those are good songs. I always feel like they just prop her up like Weekend at Bernie's, even back then, to sing the songs, but they're good songs.
I still think of the song Lucky. That's like
that's
one that's gonna go down in history.
Till the World Ends.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great song.
Yeah.
That's a great song.
I love that song.
Yep.
That's just one of those songs she has that like in her discography that don't feel like she had anything to do with it.
Yeah, like,
it doesn't even feel like she's saying it.
No,
it feels like somebody else saying it, and they just, credit it as Britney Spears.
I feel like eventually her voice will just become a plug-in in Pro Tools.
Like T-Pain on iPhones.
It's literally like Blade Runner 2049 hologram celebrity, like
in the 90s.
I was Mary with that A+ pop culture reference right there. Loved it.
A+.
In the 90s, I was definitely more of a Christina Aguilera fan.
Oh yeah, me too.
In terms of that,
until she started like sex toy dancing at places with children.
Oh, that was Well, that was much later in life.
Yep.
She was like considered the edgy foil to Britney Spears at the time, which is funny.
I was watching. I have a weakness for TikTok dances on TikTok.
Well, we've been through this before on the show, I think.
And there was
nothing wrong with that.
And there was one I was watching the other day from the girl's name's Enola Better, and she's like, she does it to a Christina Aguilera song, and I laugh because she's like, I was like, I don't think you were even alive when this.
Oh, that's
she's
great.
like 21. That song's probably 21 years old.
It's oldies. That might as well be the Beatles to her.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Like that's your version of the Beatles.
It might be.
Is Christina
the
Aguilera.
oldie station over here plays like all the things I liked when I was a teenager. So I'm old, I guess.
Which song was it?
Dirty.
Wow.
Oh.
Genie in a Bottle fan myself. I still love that music.
I was
video.
just listening to that in the car the other day.
Another thing about those songs.
Oh, and I was just listening to Try Again by Aaliyah.
Aaliyah's one of the best ever.
Me and him talk about Aaliyah all the. She is. Beyonce can owe her success to the fact that Aaliyah is no longer with us. She would have been Beyonce had Beyonce had
I would say
assassination attempt? Question mark.
Oh, maybe.
You never know.
No,
like,
Aaliyah gave birth to all the weirdos that I love today, like FKA Twigs. Like they're very similar.
That
dark,
Shia LaBeouf
ominous music.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get into the Shia LaBeouf stuff. He's a Catholic now. It's okay.
Yeah,
he didn't do anything, guys.
Aaliyah, also a talented actress who acted well on her first try. She made a fantastic movie. This would be on my recommendations, called Romeo Must Die, with Jet Li, Aaliyah. Those are the two starring roles. Anthony Anderson, Isaiah Washington, and then who's the guy from Kidnapped? And He's got a really unique, but it's a great. It's
And the
basically-
soundtrack is great.
Yeah, it's a freaking incredible. It's incredible. It's the guy who plays the cop in Gone in 60 Seconds. And now I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He was also in a short-lived show called Chicago Code, starring Jennifer Beals, where he plays a corrupt alderman, which they would never allow to be made today because I don't think it would.
Anthony Anderson was in that movie?
Yes, he was young
goodness.
Anthony Anderson.
I thought you were going to say that.
Delroy Lindo. I remembered it without.
Oh
having
yeah,
to look it
here
up.
he is. I thought you were going to say the vampire movie.
You're
she
so
did.
proud of yourself.
I am. I was just sitting there.
Aaliyah did a great vampire movie too.
Oh yeah, Queen of the Damned.
Yeah, Queen of the Day.
A similar star that they didn't kill her, but they almost did, is JoJo.
Yeah.
JoJo would have been.
Well, they did so by taking away her
huge.
music rights for
Yeah.
like a gazillion years. She like was finally able to cover her own songs and did like a COVID version of
I
Get Out.
remember.
And
it's like
I
her
died of
voice
secondhand.
is just not the same.
no, and
It's
I
just
died of
not.
secondhand cringe when I
You
heard
don't
it.
sound like you're a 13-year-old anymore.
It was,
Even when she was 13, she didn't sound 13. She sounded older than 13. But
and she's just generic Kesha. So
I have no idea who you guys are talking about.
JoJo,
Doesn't-
Get Out,
I have no idea. what
leave.
that is.
Get
Too
Out.
Little, Too Late.
None of this is ringing a bell.
Come on.
I know both those. Songs.
If you play them, but you can't play them right now. If you play them, you'll know.
Yes.
I'm looking at it right now. I've
Okay.
never seen it before.
Let's go to Super Chats. Grofty said, really enjoying Tales from the Inverted World. Great work, Shane.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Center Conservative Mom 98 said, ads. My mom would make us do dishes during them as kids.
That's very
Someone would
smart.
keep an eye on the TV and yell for us to come running in when the show was back.
That's another popular meme where they talk about you'll never understand the struggle of being in like the other room and somebody struggles, it's back, and then you have to like topple over two of your family members, knock over furniture, all so that you can jump back over the couch like a pro wrestler to get back in front of the TV before it starts playing.
Mary said, so she only believed in God when other people were enduring hardships, but not when she was. Give me a break. Arrogant much?
Well, I mean, would the idea here be that she was going through hardships and she still believed in God all through her conservatorship?
And that's what she was talking about before, is that she still was praying the entire time.
And
But-
the kids are just one step too far, she believes?
I have no idea where she's at in her head, but
I guarantee in like a few months or a year, she'll be giving like a really good interview and walking a lot of this stuff back, and it'll be like she's progressed.
I don't think
well,
so.
it's like
I have
now that
hope.
she's not in the middle of everything, she's trying to go back and untangle it and make it make sense. But
Yeah.
like people hurting you for no reason other than their selfish ends is never going to make sense because it's evil.
Yeah.
It's evil.
That's a trope in like movies and TV shows where like the guy, he goes on this like long like campaign of like trying to figure out why something happened to him, and in the end there's just no answer other than people just do bad things. You can't always, there's never going to be a bow and then suddenly one day a bow tied that says this is over,
like
it's time to
the
move on.
symbol of Christianity is your God on a torture device, dying.
Yeah, I feel like
That's
that
what you are
image-
called to do.
That image has been so watered down, like that people I think
Yeah.
lost
And
the
the fact
meaning
that,
of that.
that a lot of Protestants are against the crucifix, which shows Jesus' body on the cross.
Why?
It's,
Are
there's
they
no
against it?
mistake to it.
It's not the only denomination I think
It's
that does that.
sanitizing that.
Okay.
It's sanitizing the crucifixion.
The
I believe.
Catholics want to hold your face in the suffering. Be like, this is suffering. Am
Yeah.
I right?
Yes.
You're like, no.
Yes.
I feel like you have to understand the suffering. I could be wrong, but like the
Well, it's
suffering is the whole part
literally
of
the bedrock
finding,
of the religion.
Finding the
yeah.
thing. So if you sanitize the image, you're already taking out.
I hope that she comes to have like a more complex view of it.
So then I want to ask you, what would you recommend, like if she were to ask, if Britney Spears was to be like, hello Mary, I'm Britney Spears, and I would like your advice, what would the advice you give her as a religious woman?
Okay. I mean, it would be hard because I haven't lived as long as her or through as much as her, through the same things. I'll never understand it. And that can be so frustrating on her end that literally no one understands
She's like,
what
I need
she
to go
went through.
She's like, I need to go to a support group meeting for people that have been through what I've been through. It's just a meeting of her.
yeah.
But like, I guess I would just say it's okay to feel angry at the people who hurt you, and also at God, and to just tell God that you're angry. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay.
A lot of people are told they can't say certain things in prayer, but like, you kind of gotta lay it all out there.
Right. There's moments in the Bible that horrible things happen, and it's like impossible for anyone to read and be like, oh my goodness, this is children are taken away, women, entire world. So it's like, I feel like it's got to be okay for you to be like questioning God. Like, I think you and I have talked about it before, but one of my favorite authors of all time is Flannery O'Connor. I believe she was Catholic from Georgia, right? And she wrote all about this terrible suffering of humanity. She suffered greatly too from a disease, and she died at a young age. But most of her characters that she made suffer were people who thought they were like false believers, who said they believed, they went to church, did all the things you think they should, but they didn't really believe. And she like kind of questioned, their authority and their religion that they claim to be a pillar of.
I've never met a Flannery in the real world.
I love the name.
The only Flannery that I can ever recall hearing is Rick the Wild Thing Vaughn's publicist in Major League 2.
I might save it for one of my daughters. Oblividan. No! Oblividan said, I know what caused the stream problems. It was Shane. He only moved the headstones. He didn't move the graves.
That's awesome.
This is all your fault.
The Guidestones episode is coming out in like 2 weeks. And there's a lot of weird updates with that. Check it out.
I'm gonna start keeping track of what days things start to go wrong. And if I see too many check marks, I'm gonna put like a board over here, and it's gonna have every guest's name, and there's gonna be little check marks whenever there's strange issues in the middle of a stream. And if I see too many check boxes, friend,
how convenient.
Inverted World Volume 3 is gonna be me in here.
This isn't even normally your day. You're here on a Thursday.
That's true.
It follows you.
I bring it with me. I'm
Lydia,
sorry.
If Lydia was here right now, it would be sunshine and rainbows, and the stream would actually say like above excellent condition.
I'm a dark cloud. I'm sorry.
You're a very friendly dark cloud.
I try to be friendly.
That's why we love having you.
I try to be friendly, but I'm sorry.
I said it was ominous at the beginning.
She did.
I warned y'all.
She looked at me and said it. My goodness.
Titanic Panic said, maybe she could get better if she got off social media. Realistically, I think she loves her ridiculous persona.
I don't know about loves her ridiculous persona. I do believe that people become trapped and addicted to social media very easily. I don't think
she knows who she is.
I need to go on a social media cleanse for a bit here. It's like over the 4-day weekend, it becomes more noticeable when you're not busy. Like at work, you're busy. You've got stuff going on. You just don't have the time. When you have the time, it used to be a little bit different process for me where I'd walk away and go skating. I still do that, but when it's just work, skating, work, exercise, whatever, getting away from it's always a good idea.
She's probably trying to find herself, whether or not she knows it, through social media by posting these things.
It's a huge mistake.
And on the same note, I think they should take Madonna's cell phone away too, just because I'm sick of the.
Madonna's just old Britney. Yes. Britney's just young Madonna.
But I don't know. Madonna didn't. She doesn't have a.
Madonna's feels more calculating to me.
Like, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people control different aspects of Madonna's life and career, but not to the same extent.
Yeah, really. No. Britney was probably like a cookie cutter version of Madonna. Who I think Madonna was an artist, like early on, like in her early years. Like that was for real. I thought interesting stuff.
Something about her is she's unpredictable, whereas I think Britney's music career, at least, has been extremely predictable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree.
Because she lacked creative control.
Yeah.
Terrence Rice said, whether you believe or not, everyone is here to suffer. When things get hard, you do throw out your faith. You don't throw out your faith. I think that's what you mean. You double down and keep it moving. That's true. Bush Dr. Survival said, first super chat. Good job. I sent in a video pitch.
Well, thank you. I don't know.
Hopefully not to Pitches.
Yes, that's Pitches is an inside joke.
Yeah, Pitches is not real.
Do not send anything to pitches@timcast.com. I don't think that's actually a thing anymore. Like,
yeah. Kara May said, "Powerful Shane Cashman."
Is that like a thing? Like, are you like if you were on Joe Rogan, you'd be the powerful Shane Cashman?
I've never heard that.
I noticed that he like when he posts like his selfies with like his guests, like certain guests get the powerful treatment and other ones don't.
And I always think of the people who don't get it feeling like a little sad.
Like what's his name that he had on some
Tim Dillon always gets it.
But it was somebody like contentious recently who he
not Zuckerberg.
No, it was before that. But somebody who they like disagreed with on stuff, and he left out the great and powerful part, and that's a slap in the face.
It says something. Yeah, it's a small little slap.
Another reason the internet is so evil, man. You can find any number of little ways to dig at people.
Oh, yeah.
That they don't even have. It's just there for you. Like he's like, oh, I didn't even know I didn't put it in there.
Exactly.
You knew. You knew.
Hobbit said, true faith is about serving God. Lack of faith is service to the self. When bad things happen, the faithful turn to God and self-serving become victims.
We are in a society full of victims today.
Yeah.
Fun fact: we did an episode recently, and I used the term "I am a victim." Like I immediately changed what I said because I got a bad taste in my mouth.
What was it about?
I don't even remember. It was like I was saying that I victimized myself about something, but just the way I phrased it, I was like.
Because they've abused the language, but you can still use it if it's correct.
I'm also not a fan of I don't like buzzwords from either. Like I if I ever have to say woke, I actually almost vomit.
I never ever say it. I hate that word
because I hate buzzwords in general.
I hate phrases like social justice warrior. I hate far right, whatever. Like any of those buzzwords are just atrocious. And they do nothing but divide.
They're auditory. Like they become a trigger to people. Without meaning to, you almost discount what you say because the people that disagree with you are going to disagree with you either way. And
it's
the people
lazy.
that agree with
if you want to have a real conversation, it's a lazy way of having one.
Yep.
Center Conservative Mom 98 said, I hate the adulting thing too. I get along with no one my age. Literally just ranted to my husband about this. I'm 24, but I think I'm mentally 40.
I mean...
Join the club. I'm 80.
Yes. I mean...
My knees are wobbly.
24 and married. Nowadays, they would tell you, why are you getting married so young? Because that's the society we live in. They don't value, that's what I've noticed more and more. Like, we just mentioned Madonna. She's like, I regretted both my marriages and I'm obsessed with sex. I'm like, you're 60, dude. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
Even if it's true, don't, bring that out. Yeah. Martin Santiago said, my GF is jealous. I have a crush on Mary. Well, I hope she dumps ya.
Oh.
Clip that.
Mary's going to be mean to further make your relationship better so that you stop having a crush on her so that you can make sure.
Oh, I'm playing the long game. No, I literally just hope she dumps you. Martin Santiago also said, shout out to 3rd Infantry. I think you mean Infantry Division. I don't know what that means. Caper 2X said Army Nurse Corps Hua.
Sweet. I love it. I love
West Point people.
It's the West Point stuff.
Martin Santiago said Infantry LOL. Sorry. We're all stupid. # cannon fodder. Whoa.
Yesh says, you skipped my super chat. We did not. Yesh, we lost the stream.
Well, we did actually skip it, but it wasn't our choice, okay? If you feel really strongly about what you said, though, please send it again. We can't look at it now.
Yeah, we lost
I'm sorry.
We lost the chats from when the stream cut temporarily, so we apologize.
Boomer tech here.
Yeah.
And James Orenthal Wen said, powerful originates with a story that Bert Kreischer told on one of his past Rogan appearances. Also, pancakes don't care about your waffles.
Is that your feelings don't care about your facts don't care about your feelings? Your pancakes don't care about your waffles?
Yep. It's for your brunch. That's good.
Yeah.
Wait. Say that again.
Well, he said pancakes don't care about your waffles. It's like saying my facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah.
Food edition.
Yeah, but is it saying that pancakes are better than waffles?
I don't know. I think eventually we'll end up having fast food cast here. We'll just have food.
We could literally go on forever.
Food culture crisis.
Yesterday we were talking about fast food for, I swear, 20 minutes.
At least. Food culture crisis.
Got out of
Was
control.
it whose favorite French fries? Or
we were rating our top 3. I'm just going to say it right now because I settled on it. Chick-fil-A number 1, Taco Bell number 2, and Sheetz number 3.
Okay, so I just started eating meat for the first time in 20 years.
Wow, how's it going?
It's going really good. I only had chicken, so I went to Chick-fil-A for the first time. And
how do you
really
like
good,
it?
really good. But what I really like is that I think, and maybe this has been said elsewhere, that Chick-fil-A should run this country.
Oh, yeah.
That is the most beautifully run business I've ever seen.
Here's what you should do. Get the mac and cheese, and then get the chicken sandwich and put the mac and cheese in your sandwich.
You don't even do that.
This is incremental heart attack from
Don't do what Brett is about to say. I already know what Brett is about to say. He's going to tell you to put the mac and cheese on your fries. It's too starchy.
Amazing.
It's too starchy.
They both sound really good. I'll do both, and I'll send you both the bill when I'm in the hospital with my heart attack.
The best part is
it's a treat.
Chick-fil-A doesn't have to lower their prices at airports because they get so much business or they don't have to raise their price at airports because they make so much money they can just charge regular prices.
Have you had Chick-fil-A at an airport?
Yes.
Are they
lines are
nice?
The line,
are they as nice at
yes,
the airport?
they are. And
Oh
the
my
line
goodness.
is like outside the like you literally might have to go through TSA twice because it like circles around back to checkout.
Dude.
And it's
Chick-fil-A 2024.
Yep.
That's what I'm writing. Write it in, everybody. Write in Chick-fil-A
ballot.
2024.
All right. We're going to move on. I want to talk about the Hollywood blacklist and a couple of different facets of this. One related to jab restrictions. I will limit my language here. And the rest just being the general concept that we all know is true, but don't want to, but Hollywood wants to pretend like it isn't, which is that conservatives have a much harder time in Hollywood than the people with a standard left-wing agenda. So it says Adam Carolla says that actors fear even criticizing C-19 rules. Are we allowed to say that word again?
Let's avoid
I think we are. I say it all the time. But so he basically talks about how he's one of the few celebrities to acknowledge that Hollywood's blacklist exists against conservative talent. They get into a lot about the concept of restrictions. They get into a lot about the concept of the 1950s blacklist, the McCarthy era blacklist, no commies allowed. And they talk about how they've kind of started monetizing that time in history, whether it's movies like Trumbo, it became a plot in Being the Ricardos. There's documentaries that have been made about it. They absolutely love to glorify it without acknowledging that the same thing is essentially still going on in the industry.
What do you mean glorify it?
Well, they like to monetize it by turning it into stories. Like the
Sure.
I saw Trumbo.
I don't think it glorifies it though. I think they want the appearance of exposing an ugly past, but hiding simultaneously they're hiding an ugly present.
Or they're just ignorant to it.
I don't think they're ignorant. I'm not letting them off that easy.
I feel like some of the people who write these things are just that ignorant.
The
to
blacklist
the present day.
of McCarthyism has kind of been inverted, so
yeah, we're at the other end of the spectrum
so quickly.
So it says
gives you whiplash.
Clifton Duncan was a classically trained performer with an impressive resume, and he can no longer work because he refused the COVID-19. Too late now, guys. I think we're okay with it.
Yeah.
But also, when Greg Ellis was here, he talked a lot about the crazy restrictions because of how monetized that industry is there. And my biggest complaint, the thing that always made me want to cover this, is the pictures. I do follow some actors on Instagram, if only to keep up with their work. Usually I don't see eye to eye with them on political beliefs or social beliefs, but one thing seems to be steadfast is that when you see pictures from behind the scenes, it's always a bunch of crew members with masks on and actors with no masks on, which always makes me think of like a caste system.
When that happened at the Met Gala,
Yes,
especially in an event that's supposed to showcase art and show that like mainstream celebrities can overlap with the art world and do something highbrow when ordinarily their performances are so lowbrow. And then you juxtapose that with their literal servants on the sidelines.
Like Hillary Clinton, there's the picture of Hillary
You
Clinton.
can't disguise what's going on.
Yep. It was like tax the rich but mask the poor.
Yeah.
It was so disturbing.
The obvious answer here is Gina Carano making a very generic statement about they make you hate your neighbors before the government makes you hate your neighbors before they do anything. It was the most generic thing ever. If you guys remember, I don't know how much you followed that case. What happened?
It was just a meme.
Pedro Pascal posted like a meme where he basically called half the country, tiny mustache man sympathizers. Again, I don't know if you're Yahtzees. I like Yahtzee.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
alt-right Yahtzees. So
it could be talking about Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, which would be so unfair.
And when I think about what Greg Gutfeld was saying with Adam Carolla is like the number one thing that you notice with them is like they get no promotion from the machine, meaning like Gutfeld is successful in spite of the machine. Similar in comics, ESOM #1 with Eric D. July. If I didn't tell you guys, or you didn't follow an industry that told you this dude made $3.5 million on a single comic book, you would never know from the mainstream comic book industry that was a thing because they just close their eyes and pretend that
they selectively report.
Yeah.
They over-report on non-news. And then something actually noteworthy happens
Here's the 5
that goes
ways
against their
that-
narrative. it's rabbit or
Memory
it's,
hold.
memory hold.
This is one of my favorite things I ever learned from listening to Michael Malice. And I used to say mainstream press all the time, but he's like, don't call it mainstream press. It's not mainstream. They're corporate press. They don't reflect the mainstream. Just like what you're saying, like
Legacy.
Yeah, it's just legacy stuff. They are in their own little world, and they just promote themselves. But there's people like Gutfeld are actually getting big because the real world is into that. They want to see something that's authentic, unlike Stephen Colbert.
There's a certain level of authenticity that not being promoted by the machine affords you. I think we're beneficial to that in a lot of ways because we're given the freedom to talk about what we want here and discuss the things we want to discuss, and we're never going to be talked about on any type of mainstream site. I mean, maybe they'll say something negative about us someday. That might be a badge of honor one day to one day be called something by a bunch of people that are
be slandered by the corporate press.
I look forward to it. So
that's the new Oscar. That's the new Emmy.
And then they get into basically the one thing that I noticed when I started looking up this stuff was that a lot of people, it's kind of like the concept of cancel culture, where some people say it exists, other people say it doesn't exist, but it's so nebulous that you don't really have a way of. You can't prove there's not an actual list on a piece of paper.
The nature of this topic is, there's the C-19 Hollywood blacklist, or there's the so-called conservative blacklist, or a blacklist of people who are just generally difficult to work with. Yep. And there are multiple different ones. They're unofficial. No one, they overlap, but it's been broken up into all of these different categories. Some of them pay attention to only one. And it just becomes a sort of standoff where everyone feels like they are on the precipice of getting ousted from this industry. And I think that's why so many headlines come up of celebrities just saying outlandish things, because they're set up for
the press,
failure that way.
The corporate press does a fantastic job of like laying it in there where they're like, I can't wait to clip this piece of audio.
Like the media outlets are just as much playing the game with these celebrities as they are with each other.
I do my best, like when I'm naming the clips, like for segments, I try to keep it like to like the like.
I mean, I goad you into making editorialized titles,
but in general, I try to keep it as like general as possible. Thank you. Thank you. Like because I'm not like, I really hate when they do like the cutesy pie editorializing where it's like a bunch of people. Elon Musk said that the rings of power suck because of course he did.
The thing is, cancel culture, or whatever you want to call it, is a self-sufficient self-nourishing organism that you don't really need someone to be in charge of it for it to continue existing. It exists to propagate its own existence, and there's no one keeper of this ledger that keeps track of everyone's mistakes. It like or
it's just word of mouth. Word of mouth becomes not a toxic
because
form,
of the nature of like how people have a collective impulse. You don't really need to have any centralized authority on who is canceled, who's blacklisted, or who is acceptable.
My favorite part was did you watch the Alec Baldwin part where he talks about it? In it, he talks.
Do you want to show it?
I think it's pretty long. I don't know if we can. But basically, there's a point where he talks about like there was bad behavior in the past, like 1950s Hollywood, where you'd be drunk, you'd get DUIs, you go away for a couple of years or a year, and you apologize, and you come back later. That's one thing. But he talks about he refers to McCain as John McCain as a real American.
He's so old.
It's just such a it's very boomer, and he shows a fundamental lack of understanding of like what what Americans actually seem to want from their media, which I found to be the funniest part. But he also talks about how in the one interview, and I want to make sure I find it, where he talks about one of the things about getting blacklisted is like you have to get through like an actor's publicist first, right? They would want to do a show, and then the publicist will look into your work and say, we can't have you going on there. He says they're progressive by default because they have to be, whether they
not
are,
because that's their conscience that tells them.
but it's pragmatic for
It's
them
right,
to
yeah.
be, because they understand that if you go on Adam Carolla's show, and I actually enjoy his podcast is very like left and right field, like topics that like you wouldn't imagine him covering, kind of like what we do. Like he gets more political than we do, but like he definitely covers like the gamut of runs the gamut of stuff to actually cover, which I enjoy. But he points out, like, I use it as kind of a barometer. If I see somebody go on his show, I understand that person is probably not necessarily right leaning, but at least centrist enough to have a conversation with you.
A real conversation.
And it shouldn't need to be that way.
Nope.
It shouldn't be a barometer for what somebody's beliefs are. Whether they
I think
can
the
be,
same thing might be going on, like something like Pierce Morgan Uncensored.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
trite as that is,
Yeah.
and as much as we've like made fun of the name of it and the whole concept,
cancel culture.
it is still a tepid reaction
Bill
to
Maher
this
still has
blacklist
that.
culture.
Bill Maher has different people from various sides on.
Yeah.
They can mostly have a
He's a good
conversation.
example of somebody who, like, even if you disagree with him, he kind of is more willing to.
Well, he's someone who
entertain.
doesn't threaten people.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like because so many people in Hollywood and in the whole entertainment industry are psychopaths, as I've said, like because they have to be in order to succeed. They're the types of people who will just kind of casually threaten people they work with. And if you're not like that, you're the exception.
Carolla described what he faced when he tried to hire writers for Truth Yeller. He says these people don't want to work for the Daily Wire, not because they're against the Daily Wire, but because they don't want to be blacklisted in Hollywood. That is a blacklist. Well, it may not be written down. This is where you have to actually tell people and like guide them to like use your brain. There's not a master list in an office. Like when you go to a Target, the person's stolen from there a bunch of times. I used to work at a Target, so I'd be in like the asset protection office. You see like the pictures of the people that are like repeat offenders. There's not a master list in a thing where it says don't work with this person. It's a bunch of people in group chats and in chain emails through studios.
Insiders.
Yes.
Right.
Insider.
That makes it more nefarious and pervasive.
Yes,
It's
and
like
harder
there's
to-
not like one thing you got to worry about. It's just like this.
And
like
no
you were saying,
one
an
is
organism.
safe.
Yeah, you're never
So
safe.
it kind of prevents people from sharing their beliefs. I know Zachary Ty Bryan. I remember this all the way back. It was like 4 years ago. He was from the original Home Improvement.
Okay.
And he talks about he works more behind the scenes now. He says a lot of the people who work behind the camera are they're not making. You go to California, right? You go to Los Angeles, and it's like there's no middle ground. It's mansions and tents.
Right.
And the people that work behind the scenes are blue collar people. Yep. And a lot of them have very different views that they don't have any power to speak out against what they believe. Gina Carano was able to do so on sheer will and the knowledge that she had a previous career and would be going elsewhere because of a natural talent in front of the camera that she had the faith in that she would be able to use further. In that industry, where do you go? There's only so many jobs at the Daily Wire that they can hire.
That's kind of what Kanye West was referring to when he said everyone who's in LA is there for the check.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's true from the very top to the very bottom.
Yep.
So true.
So if this is one of those things where, like, how is this any better? We're not any better off than we were in 1950.
By the way, in case this even needed to be mentioned, it's just hilarious that Alec Baldwin, of all people, is the one pointing out Hollywood blacklists when he's himself is not blacklisted after killing someone.
Yep,
Whether or not it was on purpose.
There was an article. I don't think I pulled it up, but I was originally going to like make it a jab at him, where it's like his production company is also like pushing the blame off now, saying it's not our fault that Helena Hutchins died on
The
set.
things that are considered excusable in Hollywood
Well, that's the
and
funniest
things
part,
that are
right?
considered irredeemable, like
Who you vote for?
the terms of these
irredeemable.
blacklists.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's like it doesn't matter. Like did you abuse a family member? Sure, fine. But did you vote the right way? And did you say something mean on Twitter? If you said something mean on Twitter, we can't forgive that.
Yeah.
But if you were abusive to and I think that the more rational-minded people should believe in what Olivia Wilde claimed to believe in, which is restorative justice, right?
That's right.
You should have the right to make amends for your mistakes and come out the other end better than you were before, but they don't actually believe in that, not in any actual sense.
Ultimately, what Olivia Wilde was saying about restorative justice was about restoring the bottom line for her film.
Where she proves to be the most male acting female director I've ever seen, as she sleeps with her co-star with her younger actors.
Frontman.
Yes, she's channeling her inner Weinstein.
Alec Baldwin is from the old school Hollywood where you still had a redemption arc. Like that's why I'm still thinking I have hope for Britney in this redemption arc. But like this new world, there is no redemption arc. You just split off from this industry and you go to the Daily Wire, and that's I guess it.
Baldwin,
where else do you go?
He's also very clearly like he still believes we're in a world where like from watching what I watched on his video, he doesn't believe it is like a two-party system. He doesn't understand that it's like mainstream Democrats and Republicans are just the same. It's the same thing now.
I love that. I love that.
A neocon and a neoliberal
Right.
aren't really. A Republican is just a Democrat going the speed limit.
Hollywood reaching out to the like elitist uniparty either side, like McCain.
That's what I'm saying.
They think they're giving an olive branch the other side, but that's just the same. It's just the same warmonger as the people you thought you loved before too.
That was the part that I thought was funny. It's like I didn't really want to cover it because that's the political side of it. I don't really care about that. I care about the fact that there's a blacklist at all, and it shouldn't be a thing. And he kind of goes back and forth. He goes, it's unfortunate that it has to exist. I'm like, obviously you don't really believe that.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
And there are exceptions too.
Oh yes.
Like Mark Wahlberg, for example, or Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson just has those two both have so much money and influence now that they're kind of like safeguarded from it. But you're not allowed to be a new. I guess you could be the child of one of those people, but
maybe
Alec has had a lot of falls from grace and come back. The messages he left for his daughter, you've heard those from years ago, where he calls her like a pig and stuff.
What?
You got to go back and hear those.
Ugh.
I mean, he's had a lot of insane things, and he's in one of my favorite movies. I love Beetlejuice. About to watch that soon as it's getting a little Halloweeny out.
The one thing that kind of struck me about all this is it all feels very like the old world is gone, and they haven't realized that yet. They still believe that world is going to come back.
It's
been gone, and they don't realize that. I don't know if they'll come to realize that someday. I think that's part of being in a bubble. It's very hard to escape your information bubble. Even here, like you have to be like, I'm always kind of asking myself, am I the crazy person?
Right.
I think you always have to check yourself against that.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think that they're Jennifer Lawrence the other day having her nightmares of Tucker Carlson and not realizing that that's insane because you're in a bubble. Or talking about how like you're separating from your family over stuff is
what punk rock singer just came out like threatening people. Dropkick Murphys. They have no they can't hear themselves.
No.
And they're becoming like what usually happens, the very thing they said they hated.
Yep.
Where they just become actually violent. Like they're frothing at the mouth and they're ideologues. It should be terrifying to see these people do it and then getting on magazine covers for it.
I want to it's really interesting because I'm going to keep an eye on stories involving the idea of the Hollywood blacklist, because I think it's one of those things where there's more discussions worth having, and the more people that talk about it, the easier it is for people to come out and speak about it. Because I do think at a certain point, it does speak to just how comfortable they feel to say whatever the hell they want, and how uncomfortable they've made everyone else feel.
They don't understand what it implies.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And shout out to Clifton Duncan, who's been in this studio before, I believe, and was one of the first people I remember on Twitter when the all crazy stuff was happening with the whatever words I can't say, and he was super brave. I remember following him. I was like, oh wow, I love this. And I remember seeing him like kind of fall from New York, leaving New York and becoming this. It's awesome and inspirational. After
the last time we were in New York, I'm like, no wonder everything's the way it is. It's just so.
You didn't like all the homeless people?
It's just so New York. Well, no, it's not that. It's just such a different world from the rest of the rest of America.
No,
right?
it's really sad seeing I had lived there and seeing how many people live on the streets now. Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for them, but it's a reflection of the city and how it's falling, how it's fell.
Convincing Reality said, do not pray to God for answers, as that's the height of hubris. Pray to reflect on your situation using teachings which have been imparted to you. I mean, I think you can pray for both. It's just the spirit in which you do it that can make you sink or swim. Let's see. There have been a lot of super chats. Bobcat said the communist agitators in Hollywood have been doing blacklists for over a century. Also, Trumbo has no basis in actual history.
Yep. I saw it. I'm not the biggest Bryan Cranston fan. I know that's blasphemous given the popularity of Breaking Bad.
Never watched it.
Yeah.
Yesh said, Hannah Claire never lost my super chat. Please send this straight to Hannah Claire's bank account.
Duly noted.
All of the super chats were going to Hannah Claire's bank account this entire time. I don't know if you missed that.
Every single time. All of them.
Literally all of them. Bisky Frisket said, in appreciation of Mary's big, beautiful brain.
It's like a big, beautiful
wall. Have you
wall.
seen it? Do you know if it's beautiful?
It's like a big, beautiful wall.
Oh, is that what he was referring to?
No,
big,
I'm
beautiful
big.
wall?
It's big, beautiful.
It's the best brain.
One more from Bad App.
Oh. I'll take Brett for Taco Bell breakfast after we bleep all night.
Okay, yes, and then he says something about Shane.
At Shane, have you been to St. Augustine, and what's your opinion on Ouija?
Oh, in Florida? Yeah, it's beautiful. Ouija, okay, first, that city is really beautiful. I love it there. Great. I have holy water from there, actually. I got it from a cathedral. Bought it out of I'm looking at Mary because I'm like, what is she going to think about holy water? Because I don't know anything about it yet.
I
Purified
have
the
a
studio.
spray bottle of
sweet.
it in my car.
I got it out of I bought it out of a closet in a cathedral. Beautiful city. I think it burnt down because of the stuff they put in their pillows. So the whole city burnt down like the late 19th century. But anyway, Ouija boards, I don't really have a feeling about them one way or the other, but I talked to a lot of witches in Georgia who some of them think they're satanic, and some of them think they're just fine.
If they're satanic, shouldn't the witches like it?
No, because they're Christian witches. Actually, I know they worship.
I'm just leaving it on Mary.
Right.
I'm leaving the shot on Mary's face
they
right
worship
now.
they worship Anubis, and they pray to Jesus. Oh, this is one of my favorite sentences I was ever told by a witch, and you're gonna like this, I think. This was in the last episode of Inverted World where I ask.
Available now on timcast.com.
That's right, timcast.com. She goes, "Oh, Jesus was a witch." I was like, "How?" She's like, "Well, he turned water to wine. He walked on water." I'm like, "Okay." And then she was like,
"Can witches do any of that?"
No, well, I guess so. They think they can, and then
but they can't.
And then she said the crucifixion was the first Salem. What do you think about that? Was Jesus a witch?
No.
I asked them. I was like, "How can you be a Christian and still worship other deities like Anubis and stuff?" They had a whole loophole of like not praying to the deity.
I think this is just anti-intellectual.
Hey, there's a whole bunch of them down there, and they run a really cool hotel that I stayed at, and they gave me access to a secret graveyard.
You're bringing your bad vibes.
That's why the power went out
it's
here.
possible. It's possible the witches have put some kind of curse on me.
All right, we're going to move on from witches, and we're going to talk about AI-generated art. In the follow-up, I want to ask some questions, some general questions about the concept of AI-generated art, what it meant for things like FN Mecca, which we covered here before, which was the rapper who is not a real person. It's a AI-generated creation. And I want to know what you guys think about the future of art as it means now that we've got stuff like people winning art fairs with art that was basically created via algorithm. So
I won't say it's not art.
Yeah, it's very hard to make that claim, right?
Here's the thing. I think if he created the AI...
This is a beautiful image.
If he designed the AI that made the image, then yes, he can be credited for as an artist or a creator of it. But if he used somebody else's AI to make the image, and he just happened to be the one who initiated like the process of that, I don't think that makes him a creator of it. I don't think there was any creative energy in there.
This has been the same thing that's been going on. I know that a lot of people in digital art spaces have faced that same criticism where they talk about how creating art with your hands is different than creating art on a computer.
But you're still using your hands.
And you're still using your brain. Like, I'm not going to take away, if this speaks to someone, go for it. I can't stand the AI stuff. I think it's like
Do you like the image at all?
No, not at all.
You don't like this image?
It doesn't do anything for me. Like, it really, like, these things, they just seem, I don't know. I'm looking at it. It's cool. It's cool. Maybe knowing that it's AI, I'm like, it's just a bunch of zeros and ones.
Yeah, could that have?
But what's the difference between my brain really going? I don't know. It's beautiful, but there's something that just for me, knowing that it's synthetic, it takes something away from it.
Well, figures that are similar to human forms but are not and actually look like melting candle wax.
But that's not the thing. It's because I tend to actually like really abstract and surreal stuff. You know, Picasso's some of my favorites.
But it's not an abstraction of the human form that was from someone's mind. It was derivative of other artwork.
A machine's interpretation of art.
Yeah, the machine's interpretation of the human form, which turned out to be inhuman.
What I've noticed is that the world is becoming less and less about art and more about content. This even becomes, remember when we were making the jokes about CNN being content network, content news network? The idea is no longer that you create art. The idea is that you have to create content because the need, the desire for material is so great that you need to be pushing stuff out constantly.
Yep.
So it's far less discerning with what's created now. So are we heading towards a world where this will almost be a necessity because there's just such high demand for content to be seen by anyone?
I read this the other day, and I bet a lot of people have already seen this, but I'll read it real quick. It said social media has artists effed up because it takes time to create amazing art. Sometimes a lot of time, and the way the algorithms work, you can't really take time off and expect continued engagement. This is driving people to be more release driven than development driven. And my whole thing that I think about all the time is like culture over content, right? And people are always trying, like what this person said, create just to exist in this world on the computer and stuff, which is a bummer because I want to create things that just outlive me, right? A story, a book should, live much longer than the person, as should the art. Again, though, I don't want to take away, if that art speaks to someone, then that's cool. I just think
is it cool? I don't know.
If it speaks to someone, that's cool for them. It's not for me. But like I'll never, because I've been told countless times by people, because art is subjective.
No.
There's no objectivity to art.
No.
So if
Disagree.
people react to it, you don't think so? Let's hear it. I'd love to hear that.
No, because we were just talking about this the other day. I forget why. We were talking about objectivity in evaluating art and subjectivity.
In evaluating film in art.
Well, it's still an art
that's art.
form.
We'll lump all of that into art. There's no, I will say
You're
there's
wrong.
no objectivity
Objectively.
in art because you can't say that what one person thinks is beautiful is going to be the same for the next.
No, that's not what I'm saying, though.
So
I'm saying,
in what terms is something objectively
I think
good
the
then?
ultimate point that I was trying to make before is that someone's subjective evaluation of an artistic medium could be objectively incorrect because of conditioning or their tastes being altered or influenced in some way, sometimes maliciously or other times not. I think people's personal subjective tastes, although they are their tastes, and that can be valuable to them, I suppose, they can be objectively wrong. You can find something beautiful subjectively and be wrong about it being beautiful.
What are you basing wrong in, though?
That there is an objective standard of beauty and it comes from God.
Okay, but still, there are things that were created for God, like Hieronymus Bosch, Garden of Earthly Delights, that people said was disturbing and disgusting. It's my favorite painting of all time. That was made
Not
in like
familiar with it.
Everyone should look that up. It's the best painting ever made, and it's 3 panels, and it's in Spain right now. And it was created for God, but it's absolutely disturbing. And to me, that is beauty. Like when I see something surreal, that is a true reflection of reality, because I see reality as being warped and weird and disgusting and beautiful, all those things. So I don't
think something surreal or disturbing necessarily means it's not beautiful. I'm just saying there is an objective standard of beauty, regardless of whether it gives you positive or negative feelings.
Yeah, I just disagree, because even though we're all shaped differently by our cultures, which is what you're saying, right? Like the way we see art or anything is kind of shaped by our past, our childhood, whatever trauma, everything. So then everything must be subjective, because you can't undo any of that. And
not everything.
And not everything, but even if God is the underlying, as you're saying, basis of objectivity, that God is everything. So why couldn't anything then be beautiful?
What do you mean by saying that God is everything, though?
Well, God is everything. God is, unfortunately, the
God
most
is
hideous. God is
God
the
is
most
the
hideous.
source of everything.
But still, that is everything. Like the most hideous of the
The only
things in the world.
hideous things, though, are perversions or diminishments of what God is.
And here we get into the different
And what he gave
We'll get
us.
in the weeds in this, but like that's also subjective. Is what you consider hideous. I agree with you. Certain things
not.
are truly hideous like that, but the definition of hideous could also be something like a rap video you just don't agree with, you know. But other people see hideous as something else completely.
I mean, with your example of like a music video or whatever, I think any artistic output has good and bad aspects to it, but they are still objective. Like, there's a mix of them because of, I think, human error and a failure to capture what you wanted to capture. And then you can evaluate it on its own merits and, have your subjective opinion of whether you like something or not. But
Can you point
to say all of that is subjective?
I think everything,
is-
unfortunately, for the world and all of humanity, everything is subjective on how you come to it and how you see it. I'm not saying it's good or bad.
Well, then I want to talk about good or bad. I want to talk about the concept of, is the concept of AI-generated art a bad thing?
I don't think so. I think you could create whatever you want.
Yeah.
And should be no limitations on art.
I'm going off of intuition. It's probably a bad thing. It takes away the impetus to create in a more embodied way.
Then would the counter argument be that it should embolden artists to create something so indescribable, so clearly human in its creation that it stands out head and shoulders above that of the AI created
What does it
art?
mean to create something human?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
you should, even if you don't know how to describe that,
Something that's wrought by...
Whoa!
That's a lot of money, guys.
Yes, thank you.
I feel like I should dance.
You
don't.
should.
She said don't. You heard how fast she said don't?
The lights will probably go off if you dance.
That would be objectively beautiful. Thank you very much.
Something authentically human is like, as a creation, is something wrought by like human passion and the difficulty, and just like the white knuckling of your embodied hands.
We might
like,
have a harder
not
we
the
might,
click
we
of
might
a button.
have a harder time understanding this because we've never actually created something through AI created art. I would have to actually experience what it's like.
I need to know what that
Is it
means.
you hit two buttons and you're
Right.
done? Is it you
I
have
get
to like I would have to see the process
that.
before I pass judgment
I
on
guess
it.
this guy will have to answer for what he did.
What do you can you consider something like a piece of art or film or books that you think is objectively beautiful?
Wait, an example?
Yeah. Is there something that comes to mind? Bless you.
Sure. C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy.
Okay. And what makes that? I haven't read it, but what makes that objectively beautiful to you? And what makes it like? Because when we say objective, that means everyone should be able to agree that this is a beautiful.
Okay.
Piece of
Should
art.
is a strong word, because that sounds like I want to like force everyone who doesn't like C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy into a labor camp.
Let's do it.
But
Mary's like,
On
I
brand.
want to. Mary's
On
like,
brand.
But what I want to do.
hey, don't clip that out of context, guys. Even though I know some people would support me. But I think someone like C.S. Lewis, or like maybe someone like Tolkien, they were men after God's own heart, in that they were trying to create something that reflected the scope of God's creation. You're still going to fail.
Okay, I think I see a problem.
You're gonna
with
fail to do
our
that.
argument, and it's that perhaps you are looking at the artist's intention and judging the art on that. Am I wrong? And I'm looking
Not
at
purely their
purely the
intention, but
art.
their intention does matter.
See, and I'm just looking at the art. Just what am I experiencing? I don't care about the artist around it at all.
Yeah, I don't
might,
know if,
but
I
I
don't
just
know
need
how
the
much
art.
the
I
intention
mean,
of the
I
artist
think I'm
matters
looking
to
at the
me.
intention, because I am evaluating all of this parallel to the purest creation, which is God's creation. A lot of people don't think that God, there is a God, that he created anything. I'm comparing it to that, and because God is pure act, his intent is his action. He spoke things into existence. Human beings are not capable of doing that because they're not divine, they're not all powerful. They mimic that, and that's, I think, what's objectively beautiful is an attempt to mimic the scope of God's creation and failing to do it, but still in the process making something beautiful. And I think that's something God delights in.
Right, and I would agree that some of the best art ever made in architecture has come through people who want to do just that. Whether it's like the Sistine Chapel, music like the song I played for the birth of both my children is "God Only Knows" by the Beach Boys. It's the most beautiful song ever written, and go listen to the French horns as they blow down from heaven, and it'll make you cry. But just for me, I can't judge art on all the distortion around it and its creation. I just need to look at it, and whether or not it speaks to me, that's my subjectivity. So I think your objectivity is coming in through like another angle also, and mine is coming just me and the art talking alone. So I think that might be the disconnect here.
I think maybe something like common ground between us is that we think there's something wrong with art today.
Oh, yeah.
There's something amiss about this painting.
Yeah, your impulse to say, like, this is not good
Something's
is my
off.
impulse, too. Like, it's not like I'm like, just let it, it's fine, like, whatever, I don't care. I really don't care if they create it, but it does say something about the state of art. But I also get worried when people, like, worry about auto-tune, and they're like, it's gross, it's going to destroy music. I think you can do beautiful things with it.
Yep.
I love
Vocoder,
beautiful
But
dark twisted fantasy.
Think about
808s and
technologies
heartbreaks.
like that. Did literature get better or worse, would you say, on the whole, when people started writing books on a keyboard?
It's
rather
different.
than with
It's different. I can't compare.
the actual strain on their metacarpals.
My blood says the sound of a typewriter clicking and clacking is amazing. I love that.
Isn't that oversimplifying a very complex issue of just life was different for them?
But yeah, life
we
was
as
just
human
different.
beings experience the world differently, so the words we're writing will reflect a different time period.
Yes.
Regardless of what you're using to type on.
It
There's a lot of
but
writers
there used
today.
to be objectively more permanence to what you were writing as an author.
It had
before.
more resonance because it was less distractions. And like the writing, people would wait weeks back like hundreds of years ago just for like a play to show up at their doorstep and they could read Shakespeare or something.
Also, I do want to ask a question. If you could look at this picture right here without knowing that it was AI created, would you see it differently? I mean, I don't even know if you can actually
Probably
even answer that. Like,
probably, yeah, probably.
does just
I don't
the
know.
so if you're talking about intention matters, a creator's intention matters. You're saying you want to look at the art through the lens of the art in you and how you interact with it, regardless of what the intention of it was. I tend to fall in the category that I can't. I would almost rather not know their intention. I would rather judge it based solely on what it does for me, regardless. In fact, if anything, I think of knowing what a person believes or thinks tends to spoil it for me personally.
Which is why I say it's cool if this speaks to you.
Yeah.
And I can't now divorce myself from knowing because, I've talked to Jessica a lot about the AI art stuff.
Yeah.
She really likes it. And her and I go back and forth a little bit about differences in in the way we think about it. I understand that it's cool, but this isn't so much the same things that her and I have been looking at, where like she'll send me stuff and I immediately know that's AI.
Yeah.
Because I've become accustomed to a certain look and design.
Or because
texture.
maybe it's because you and her are talking about it a lot, so you know beforehand that's what it's going
That's
to be
true.
about.
But this is a little different than what her and I have been looking at. So there is something interesting about it. And this is more so mimicking the Renaissance type stuff that I think you might look at as the highest form of art. Would that be true? Like the stuff from like
Some of the best.
Some of the
I don't
best.
know about the highest form.
what's the highest form you think?
I don't know.
Come on, let's get into it. Because I think that's probably some of the highest form stuff. Like people building cathedrals and filling it with beautiful art to me and that's why I like the
I think
Garden of Earthly
Christianity has
Delights.
brought the best art into the world.
Yeah, like all the Kanye records. You're right.
Like Jesus is King.
That's right. Great record. Can we do another 2 hours on this? Is
yes,
that cool?
yes.
I think we kind of veered off.
I love that
I
conversation.
was originally going to get into the stuff with FN Mecca and just ask if you how you felt about the concept of AI generated music in a world now where you're going to be seen through avatars more and more.
Yeah, the propensity for young people to identify more with a digital avatar than their own reflection is
Well, that's where the representation argument comes in, right? Which is there's nothing that I hate more in the world now than self-important actors talking about, I am so proud that I was able to represent for all those who look like me. Get effed. Get effed. Get effed. Like, seriously, like, there's nothing more self-important and self-aggrandizing than the idea that you get to represent for everyone. And that speaks to me in the sense where when I'm talking about, when I look at art, one of the reasons that I didn't like knowing what a person believed when I watched their performance is I don't want it coloring my judgment because I know that it will. I've gotten much better about that now. I can go through and watch somebody, like I can watch an Alec Baldwin, I can watch a Steve Carell, I can watch any number of people that I don't agree with and judge it on how that art makes me feel, because they're good enough at screwing that up anyways that it's going to be bad whether they're in it or not. You could cast the every Dean Cain, Kevin Sorbo, right-leaning dude in the world, and the art that script would still be crappy, right? So I've gotten better at that, but I do believe that there's something to be said that some person may want to take that that artist's intention in when they take in that piece of work. I like the idea of going into it blind, but that's where storytelling as art and imagery as art are different things, right? Like the writer's beliefs will come through in the words that are put to page, may not always show through the same way as a visual image would. I think maybe it does in a way, but definitely not as on the nose.
We're seeing a very new art form, if you want to call it that, and we can. And at some point, I would bet that someone will make this pretty cool. Yeah. I don't know
I think
about
that's possible.
FMECA, and it's very possible. I don't know about, I mean,
I think that can only be through the merits of human creativity that designs the artificial intelligence.
that makes that.
Yes.
Right? Like, yeah. I'm with you on that.
In the show,
It can only be derivative of us.
In the show, Person of Interest, the main storyline in the last seasons is that the main AI, the main AI has morals and ethics that are imparted upon it by its creator. The second AI that's created has no morals and no ethics and is a completely system-bound thing that is terrifying in its, the great concept of like how, if you had to save half the planet, what do you do?
It's loyalty to objective.
Yes, versus the idea that it can actually feel. He has to impart ethics on it by teaching it. Like he teaches it that chess is not the highest form of humanity because it talks about sacrificing pawns for a king. He says you can't do that. Like that's kind of that same concept. And I hate to bring it back to a television show, but it does fall in that same line where all of the good that comes from that AI that you tend to root for in that show comes from the human in that created it, not from.
Right.
We're just constantly retelling Frankenstein.
Kind of.
We're always just Frankensteining things together. Yeah. And looking at FMECA in a way, I don't know why it makes me think of Frankenstein. It looks like someone like a different pieces of a corpse thrown together.
Do you think that FMECA would have succeeded if they had done an all black creative team and an all black production team?
I do. Wouldn't that have defeated
probably Capitol Records? They would have
the
liked
stated
that.
Purpose, which is that an avatar musician or an avatar social media influencer who is not a real person will escape the pitfalls of human celebrity.
Well, they talk about the avatar promoting.
You can get perfect representation and no accountability because this person doesn't have a private life.
He went to fake jail in this.
That's
Thank
great.
You.
He went to like they said it's promoting stereotypes. I'm like, well, don't the same actual rappers promote stereotypes? And I actually asked the question: is that bad? If they're reflecting their real world life experience, whether it's a stereotype or not, does that make them bad? No, I don't believe so. That's how their art is being used. The joke was always like.
They wrote a backstory for this rapper.
Yes, I like they talk about like people like me who grew up listening to rap music, grew up listening to it ironically because you grow up in the suburbs or whatever, and it kind of speaks to this notion that they don't actually want a multicultural society. Yeah, like they don't. They want your cultures to be separate but equal.
Yes.
That's actually what they want, and I don't think that's.
Oh, they're segregationists.
What's interesting about that is like America being like one of the least homogenous places on the planet it becomes almost our undoing that we are as multicultural, as diverse as we are, because it's being constantly used as a bludgeon against us.
Cultural appropriation is just a way of segregation.
Like, we're doing something that's never been tried to this extent, and then we're being lashed for not doing it correctly. When where's the model for doing this correctly?
So it says
it hasn't happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is no.
none.
What did they
You're
say?
right.
There is no roadmap for
Yeah.
us. There is no roadmap for where we're going. So it says, for FN Mecca's critics, the presence of more black people or people of color in the rooms when the character was conceived, designed, and promoted may have helped prevent the negative stereotypes that they say it furthered. How can you say that when those stereotypes exist with actual people? Like, if you were to do that, if you were to include more people and they said, don't do this, would it have come across as authentic or feel real? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, like, even if it's a fictitious character, the people who write that story are going to be held to account for, like, anything derivative of what they wrote into it.
So then I guess the idea would be, like, the best thing you could do is, like, a Banksy and have the creator be unknown, right? I know you... Not a fan.
I mean, I think it's pretentious.
Yes, it's pretentious. But I'm saying, like, if you want this to work, you have to shroud the background of the character's creation in mystery, and there can't be a mundane, there can't be a guy named Bill with a pocket protector and 5 pens in his pocket behind FN Mecca. It has to be shrouded in, I know, right?
I like that part.
It has to be shrouded in
some shadowy parent company, at least, which I think certain digital influencers have accomplished that.
It's actually Moderna.
Yeah.
It's a pharmaceutical.
Well, no, the creepiest thing about all the digital influence of all the avatar influencers,
jab awareness.
they did jab awareness, and they all have like their own like activist causes. And I'm like, I have a full-time job making fun of real life activists, let alone
Don't
fake.
make me do this.
Don't make me make fun of digital activists too.
Because they won't even read it.
I love the band Gorillaz. And it seems like they're like
I brought them up the last time we were talking about digital influencers, and I just think, like, what is this? Your shtick is that you don't exist? That's cool. That lasted as cool for maybe like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's true. Wait, for the Gorillaz or for this?
For the Gorillaz.
Yeah. Well,
like,
everyone knew who they were, though.
They're people.
Yeah, everyone knew who they were. So it's not like this, but they still present themselves. He still presents himself as an avatar live.
Or Marshmallow it's a person, but he wears a helmet or a mask.
Or one of the best bands
or
ever,
Sia.
Slipknot, Sia.
Sia used to do that.
Sia.
Yep.
She has exactly one song that I like.
What? She has a million songs.
Not for me.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, like that's
someone who likes
another
dancing.
Shia LaBeouf connection. Weirdly.
That's right. Yeah.
who likes what?
Someone who likes dance videos and stuff. Like her dances is crazy.
I don't say that I like dance videos. I
did.
simply can't look away when I watch.
I thought that the Maddie Ziegler and Shia LaBeouf choreography was creepy.
I'd imagine that is creepy. That little girl dancing with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna. This is a fantastic segue because I've got something else that's creepy, and that's this picture of Kim Kardashian.
boy.
I might not have it on that one for you, bud, but
Okay.
We have this picture of Kim Kardashian, and I don't know who in their right mind okayed this, but this.
But you applauded her for going all the way with her bleached eyebrows.
Yes, I said if you're going to do it, commit to the bit, my friend. But maybe this is just a bit you shouldn't have committed to. That's all I'm saying. This is.
Do you want to explain what we're looking at for Spotify listeners?
Yes, it is. It's Kim Kardashian. They're talking about the American dream, and the comments are really funny. And it's her in her predictable clothing, showing off the predictable parts of her body in front of an American flag. In what is one of the creepier. Maybe it wouldn't be creepy if I didn't know who she was. Like she wouldn't look
If
creepy.
it were some random model and you weren't.
Yeah, it would just look like a person.
Yeah.
But since it's Kim Kardashian, you're like, that just doesn't look right.
It's cool. I like it. Good for her.
And
is this
her
new look?
I don't know. It's
just
not
a
permanent.
one-off?
She's had bleached hair for a while.
But I want to talk about this fantastic story that says, I do what I can, that she picks and chooses how to fight climate change, but has to remain realistic amid the backlash for her private jet use. I want one of these celebrities to just be like, I don't care about raising the Earth's core temperature. Thank you. And then
she loves learning from her super climate change involved friends.
Like that's like if I picture her saying it, I literally picture like somebody with a gun to her head telling her that she has to say that. because she doesn't actually believe that or care. Like, I guarantee if you asked her what climate change was, she'd be like,
She said, I also believe in being realistic, and I think sometimes there's so much to worry about on this planet, and it can be really scary to live your life with anxiety.
I agree with that. I actually agree with that sentiment. I don't believe that she cares about climate change.
Climate-related anxiety? Is that what she's talking about?
Well, I think she's saying in a world where the news wants to give you 5,000 things to be worried about every day, you get to pick your anxiety.
Sure, but this is a quote coming from a cutthroat, ruthless businesswoman who will do anything for her bottom line. I don't think she's super climate aware.
Well, like
I think her Skims brand, or
her
cosmetics company, or the trillion other licenses she has.
It'd be funny if she's like becomes anti-climate change, where she actually just flies more, like on purpose.
Awesome.
Like she's like, yeah, I decided I wasn't gonna go out today.
I wish I could hear the jokes they make to each other in private about this stuff.
She used the Kim Air jet for the first time while heading to the Dominican Republic for her sports.
That looks like us when we were on a private jet.
Yeah, yes, that was us. I was so happy to be contributing to the to the changing of the temperature.
Our carbon footprint.
Our carbon
just
footprint
so big.
And it's crazy. You kind of have to be worried if you're a celebrity. They have like whole websites dedicated to tracking celebrity carbon footprints. Yeah. That
and tracking where their planes are flying, which is creepier. Because it is generally, at least their excuse is that it's for security purposes.
It's very, very, very creepy.
I wouldn't like it if people were live following where I go.
No, dude, that's like, imagine like the security issues. Like she had her jewelry incident in 2016 that I didn't even know about, her getting robbed. Like, and she's got people like figuring out where she's flying to at any given time. That's creepy.
Yeah.
She also does post wherever she is a lot of the times too, which is
turn your location data
not the
off,
best
Kim.
thing to
Come
do,
on.
probably.
This is rookie behavior.
Come on.
Let's do super chats.
Okay. Hobbit said Christian witches is such an oxymoron.
I know. I know. I talked to them about it. You'll see the talk if you listen. Timcast.com.
Nathan Settlemeyer said, saw a shopping cart in a ditch by Walmart. It brought a tear to my eyes knowing Maryism is spreading.
Well, to be fair, I think that's been going on at Walmart. Did I
start this problem?
I think that's been going on at Walmart long before Mary contributed to this societal collapse that is the cart corral problem.
I almost hit a cart guy the other day just for Mary. I was like, oh, look at this guy.
I think
I stopped myself.
Saw
like,
him and you wanted to hurt him.
What I'm going to start doing
that's
is,
what I thought you wanted. Isn't that what you wanted?
I'm going to get a 4x5 camera and I'm going to go out to Walmart parking lots and take pictures, artistic pictures of carts blocking parking spots.
This is going so much farther than I ever expected.
And I will ask you whether it's art or not.
I get comments on my own pages about this damn conversation.
You do?
I do. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, look, she's not that bad, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
Hobbit said, perhaps programmers will be artists of the future.
Well,
depends on what they're programming.
I know, but it's such a gross thought. But it's true. I
mean, a lot of them, if you talk to a lot of people, they see what they do as artistic. They see it as beautiful.
Hey, it's all subjective.
They see it as language if you're writing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get it. That's why I won't really talk too much smack on it if people really like it.
I just think it would do us good if we had a narrower definition of what art means rather than a wider one.
You know, we have this conversation actually kind of often, but it's just in different terms. Is we had this talk about the Neuralink thing too, where it's like, should it be accessible to everybody or not? Or reading and stuff like this. You know, it's like kind of like this idea we keep circling back on, which we don't have to do now. So that's another 2-hour conversation.
Mary doesn't believe in diversity and inclusion. She believes in what would you believe in? Homogeneity.
Don't make me say.
Homogeneity and exclusion.
I just think because this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't like the idea of Neuralink. I think it's probably a really bad idea to go there.
Here are the two options. It's either going to be exclusive to the people who are overzealous about it and rich enough to get it, or it's going to be forced on the entire population.
I don't see it that way. It will forced might be strong language, but it will become a thing that you will either have to say no to or just belong to, like a hypochondriac class who will belong in the metaverse with the Neuralink.
That you can't. The fact that you can't function without a smartphone today.
Yeah, or not even a phone in general.
It's framed as a freedom, but
which I don't see it as at all.
Or like cars.
Yeah.
The fact that cars are ubiquitous, it was framed as a freedom and as a superpower, but it's actually imprisoned so many people financially, and
Yeah.
also like just the expectation that you have both a smartphone and a car and countless other technologies just to have a job right now. Like,
I guess I'm
that's
just always weighing
inescapable.
the good and bad of these things, because they all these things do have some good. Because like Neuralink supposedly will be able to help people who are like wounded veterans of war walk or see again. That sounds cool to me. But again, it could go too far where we're just all plugged into
that's
the matrix.
always the selling point.
I know.
Yeah, I was
know.
gonna say that. Like, that's the most selling point
I know.
I've ever heard in
And-
my
Yeah.
entire life.
But I like that part. And I don't think we should then ban it, because I think everything should just be able, unless it's going to hurt children. If you want to make it. But it's going to have its pros and cons.
Yeah.
You're weighing the cons, and you say the cons are more.
Because I have more of like a conservative, I guess you would call it, temperament, where I'm thinking
guess.
what could go wrong and let's stick to the status quo
I guess.
rather than change.
Yeah. And I
The
guess
wheels of change never stop, but you got to slow them down. Like,
I-
that's my temperament.
there should be.
I tend to be more on the older I get, the more I see, the more I tend to be on the. I don't like necessarily see it as wanting to stop things, but I do believe that there's so much of progressivism, for instance, is all about no matter how many victories you have to keep going. You have to keep making.
It's never
change.
good
It's
enough. You have so much
never-
work
It's
left
funny
to do.
because
Ever
like
good
old
enough to-
school conservatives, like turn of the century, were really fighting against, I think, the regulation, but then they eventually had to give in to certain things. You have to regulate like monopolies, and I think at a certain point you do have to give in. But I try to want the government to stay out of a lot of things, most things. You know, I see a lot of situations where they should step in if it's hurting people or hurting children in particular. But I just hate the idea of regulation, and I want to stay away from that.
Over time, I have just leaned toward seeing politics as actually like a war of temperaments. And temperaments are nature and nurture. And usually where people fall politically, I think, is totally a personality thing. Almost totally.
Maybe, but people change. Like
Yeah,
people-
but they change for temperamental reasons. Like, there are different reasons that you'd be conservative today than 30 years ago. Like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think it all is temperamental. And like, if you're disagreeable, people point out, like, if you want to be a 1950s housewife in 2022, it's because you're disagreeable. So back in the 1950s, you would have been like a beatnik or a like a radical feminist or something, because that's your temperament.
Right.
It's interesting. Bobcat said, movies are subjective. I could enjoy watching The Big Sleep. You could prefer The Maltese Falcon. And guess what? We're both right.
Sweet.
I
got
agree.
Dashiell Hammett next to
There's
my
a
bed
lot
right
of
now.
there's a lot of movies that I get a lot of crap for my what Mary would call probably objectively bad movies that I find
Like
to be.
what?
Oh, I'm just saying, if we were to take the public,
Is
Like
Michael Bay?
Fast and the Furious?
if we were to take public opinion as what proves something to be objectively good or bad, I love a lot of bad movies. I had somebody sent me a message on Instagram the other day where they were talking about like they thought about something that you're like, he said, like he mentioned something that I said. Now I don't remember what I said. It sounded great when I read it back. I'm like, did I
Great.
say that? Awesome. But like, I was like, you're allowed to like whatever the hell you want to like, and don't let anyone tell you differently. If you think AI art is the most beautiful, highest art, there's probably programmers who have never given a crap about art in their life that are now being exposed to art for the first time because they're seeing it through AI created art. So to them, subjectively, that's beautiful.
Imagine learning to love art through AI generated art. That's so sad.
Well, no,
Seems like the end
you
of a
say it's
human
sad because that's your perspective on it.
But like what Mary was saying, the human aspect of art is beautiful to me. But if it speaks to you, it speaks to you. I don't know.
we need to stop silencing our intuitions and our gut feelings about things. And I think that we clearly have a gut feeling that's uncomfortable with AI generated art.
Well, I'm a contrarian, so I'm gonna say I think it's the great. No, I'm just kidding. It's the greatest thing ever.
Brett's room is actually covered with prints of AI art. It's so beautiful.
I'm gonna feed it a bunch of movie posters and
Yeah.
have it just make one poster of like 9 different movie posters.
Someone ask AI to create what Pop Culture Crisis looks like.
Yes, that would
I
be
bet you
great.
could AI generate so many movie trailers because they're
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Have
yeah,
you-
all
such
those
a
scripts,
template.
all those like scripts they would make like
Have
over
you
the past
seen
few
the
years.
video I said it's like how to make an action movie. And it says low blah blah. It's like call to action. Did you ever know that bad thing that's happening that you said would never happen? Well, it's happening, and it's every trailer you've ever seen. I wonder if we could watch it. I'll show it to you guys after the show. It's Aeronauts, and it's how to make every action movie trailer. It's hilarious.
Lane said, people tend to enjoy art because it's a window into the mind of the creator. The draws is that it says something. There's no deeper meaning behind why the AI chose what it did. It just did it.
Yep.
I think that's why keeping, at least if you don't know the artist's intention, you can't deny that the artist's intention is part of the output. There's no intention behind an AI output.
I think Brett said this earlier, but I'd like to understand the way this is all made. Like, what is the algorithm?
I would like to try to use one of the programs and just see how difficult it is.
Because this guy is getting scrutinized for winning the competition, I think that he's going to have to answer for it, or for like how he did it, if he still wants recognition for the
I just like the guy because he's just like, screw you guys. He's like, I didn't break any rules. The hell with you guys. You art nerds.
Yeah.
Waffle Sensei said, since we're talking a lot about God today, I'll add, my favorite part of Walking Dead is when Gabriel is hiding with his flock inside the church, and outside is like 1,000 zombies. I think he continued the message. He sees others out there fighting and says, we have been praying for God to save us, and he has answered our prayers, for he has given us the courage to save ourselves. And then he walks outside and starts killing zombies.
See?
Yeah, that's why people say, like, God helps those who help themselves. There's always a seed of truth in that.
One above that from Halls and the Kid.
Halls and the Kid said, I really like the AI art. I find it fascinating. I might be a traitor to my own kind. I think it's possible AI replaces commercial artists.
Well, there will be such a demand for commercial art because of how many outputs there are now that there will simply not be enough artists to keep up with the... I make this argument all the time when we talk about modern television. I said there's just too many companies making too many productions that the quality has dropped because the number of truly talented people is smaller than you would think. And the desire for content is greater than the output of actually talented people.
I just think that AI stuff is a strive for perfection, and I don't like the idea of perfection. I think humans are imperfect. Art is imperfect because the art is a reflection of humans, and like I enjoy seeing things that are imperfect, and I like seeing artists who create things striving for perfection, which is fine, but you're never going to hit it. Even on the most beautiful paintings, you're going to see layers of paint underneath and brush strokes. You know, I love that stuff. I don't think I'll get that from AI.
There's certain aspects to, like, when you're editing skate videos, for instance, you can edit something too far to a point where you've made too many cuts in too many places. You've added too many layers of effects, things that you as an editor get tunnel vision and don't realize that this isn't important to the overall visual story you're trying to tell. I look back at some of the old stuff I created, and the simpler stuff almost always rings true as better to me now than the more complex stuff. I did a whole thing where there was like a big point in time where people always argue about music and skate videos and stuff like that. And I was pointing out, I said, any genre of music can be edited too well if you understand what the music is trying to say. And cut to the tempo of that music. What a lot of people would do is there was a whole thing when, unfortunately, when dubstep was popular, when everybody was editing to dubstep, but they weren't editing it in a way that worked with the tone of the music they were making, which unfortunately was frenetic, required a lot of cutting, and just generally more work. So they wanted to use the popular music without editing it in a way that complemented, in which the music complemented what you were doing. And I did a whole thing where I wrote this whole description in this piece that I made, and then I just ended up, like, I think I saved it, and just ended up, I was like, this isn't important. Like, the people who are going to read this aren't going to...
You should imagine publishing that now.
Yeah.
Just put it out there.
Yeah.
Like, what is he talking about?
Exactly.
Someone responded to what Halls and the Kid said and said AI art will bring about more starving artists. Starving artists are more creative. And then Halls and the Kid replied, starving artists go get other jobs.
That's, I mean, there's you kind of have
Don't
to.
know.
Yeah.
Bad App has a couple questions for Shane. What are your thoughts on spirit guides? And have you been to Casadaga, Florida? You need to go there too.
I haven't been there, but I want to look it up after. That sounds interesting.
Cassadaga, maybe.
Spirit guides?
Like Talladega Nights, Cassadaga Nights.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Spirit guides, I haven't had one. I had a shaman for a while, and I liked him a lot.
I forgot about that.
The shaman was very helpful. I don't think he was a spirit guide. I haven't done like the ayahuasca stuff with someone to guide me spiritually. I've done all those types of things alone, usually, or with friends in the woods. But hey, if that works for you, that works for you.
Hobbit said, God is the creator. We are sub-creators under him. Also, God created everything good, but the sin of man corrupts the good. Objectively, good art supports the word of God. Bad art puts men above God.
Wait, so we're subcontractors? No, not even any health insurance in this gig. What the hell? What the heck? Sorry.
Thoughts on that?
Uh,
I don't know.
As somebody who's not religiously initiated, I don't think I have much of a...
I've been stepping back from getting too, into the weeds about religion, even though I talk about it a lot in private conversations. And I just because of the scope of this show, it's not related.
I like to look for topics that discuss it because I know that it matters, that religion is such an important part of life.
If they're adjacent to entertainment. Yeah.
Which usually ends up being some Fox News article about some celebrities like, I found God, and then we have to talk about what celebrity found God and decide to figure out whether we actually believe that
Madonna
they did.
talking to the Pope.
Yeah.
Madonna
talking to the Pope.
I just think, again, within different institutions, people could disagree on if that art that was intended to speak to God speaks to God, or if it's, bad or good or whatever, from, like I mentioned, the Hieronymus Bosch painting up to we talked about Kanye, Christians not agreeing with his message or his gospel his songs, or what Bosch painted with, a giant priest bird pooping out humans on the third panel in am I allowed to say HE double hockey sticks on here?
You can do that.
You can.
So I just think it's hard to say objectively, because people within the institutions of the religions might have different interpretations of what's good and speaking to and for God.
Bad App said Bad App merch is the highest form of art.
That is, of course.
That's awesome.
Hobbit said party time.
It was party time. Thank you, Hobbit.
Thank you. Porco Rosso Forever said, it's complicated, but you can judge objectively to a degree. I think Pulp Fiction is objectively Tarantino's best movie, and most would agree.
Nope.
But my personal favorite is Kill Bill.
Inglourious Bastards.
Subjective.
Because everything is subjective.
Waffle Sensei said, at least Kim Kardashian isn't scared to get a little bleach in her hair. Yeah, Brett. Thoughts on that?
I stand for Kim Kardashian here. I'm the Kim Kardashian fan.
When you bleach Brett's hair, are the eyebrows going too?
Not if.
The eyebrows are not going.
Okay, that wasn't in the original deal. We're going to have to make a new deal.
We need to revisit
for that.
the contract.
We're not revisiting the contract. But we'll get there one day.
He'll look like the guy from Fight Club who they beat up. Jared Leto's character.
Perfect. That's exactly. A guy who runs a cult, just who I wanted to look like. Perfect.
Shards of Narsil said, speaking of creepy, I made a Scary Mary video complete with animated laser eyes. Check your Instagram DM for 10 Petals edits and scroll up a bit. Okay.
There you go.
I don't check my Instagram DMs that much, but I will look for this.
I send Mary funny memes all the time, knowing she will never look
Literally
at them.
just never.
One day she'll open it up.
I end up showing her the same thing at work the next day, but when you're looking at something funny and you see the little share button, it's just there, and I'm like, you know what?
On the
off chance,
that's so
I'm
sad.
because
sad.
I am
it's not that deep.
I am here to brighten people's day regardless, and I prefer to give that option to have your day brightened, whether.
Well, it's all about the feeling of giving.
Yes,
right, and that's it. Right.
Darth Doza said, I long for a world where there are no articles or social media updates about any Kardashian or Jenner or Hilton.
Well, we don't talk about Hilton very much. That's
way over.
The funny thing is, I can't disagree. Like, whenever we talk about Britney Spears or the Kardashians, I have to stop and ask myself, what is the point of it all? But what I've come to understand is that this show isn't necessarily about finding what is the point of it all. like Mary likes to say, it's not always that deep. Sometimes you just have a fun conversation and people listen to your fun conversation. And if they get something out of it, that's what matters to me. If it gives them something fun to listen to at work and allows them a time in which they enjoy something, I'm fine with that. And I don't think it needs to be deeper than that.
I think there is also something deeper to it, clearly, because,
not all the time.
In a way,
Trust me, there are
even
times when I have looked to the depths.
It's not
for
really,
something deeper.
I'm not saying on each story individual level, but like talking about all of this
yes.
on a macro level,
Yeah.
like even Paris Hilton, it's, we have become like the celebrity. The way we look at celebrities is the way people used to look at like Greek gods, and like sometimes a peasant hooks up with them.
Yep.
They come. Sometimes they join us in our world, and we pay attention to them. We worship them. Well, not we, but like everyone, the country, the world.
Well, that's the importance of it, right?
That
that's why we've pointed out.
Interesting, and that's the crisis. That is the crisis.
Is that like whether you want to believe that these people matter or not, their opinions are being raised above that of regular people,
right.
And your kids, the future generations will take notice of that. So it does matter.
Yeah.
Einstein K said off topic, but Shane, have you ever connected with Dark Journalist? He has a pretty popular show on YouTube, talks UFOs and Confederate gold, etc.
Sweet. I haven't heard of him.
He'll write that down.
Yeah, I'm doing it now. Thank you.
Bad App, I'm not reading that.
I was waiting I think you've read all of Bad App's chats today before that one, so that's pretty impressive.
They weren't as offensive as usual.
That's pretty
why.
impressive.
Nathan Settlemeyer said, Mary didn't start the problem, but she is the face of the problem. She's too famous to walk away.
I'm just picturing now on the side of all carts are pictures of Mary.
This is cancel culture in the works right now. We're just gonna
do that thing where you're gonna take video of her leaving the carts and we'll put "We didn't start the fire" over it.
James Orenthal Wen said Aaliyah's cover of the Isley at Your Best.
Isley Brothers.
Isley at Your Best. Your love falls short because the drum machines are too perfect. The beauty is in imperfect playing.
Word.
Man, she was just such a force to be reckoned with in her time. Like,
that's
really.
an I'm not over this.
No.
We could talk about Aaliyah.
Yeah, no, she was so important.
There are a lot of things.
And go watch Romeo Must Die. It is there you go. A movie that one might say is objectively bad. I would argue that it is in fact fantastic. DMX is in it. DMX plays a club owner named Silk. Yes, who apparently what's her name didn't know. Stacey Dash didn't know he was dead until
that's crazy.
She was too busy voting for John McCain.
By the way, guys, Brett is actually making the list of top TV shows, not movies yet, but he is making the official Brett Dasovic approved top 100 TV series.
Those yellow sheets that we have here of notebook paper.
It's in the works.
It's 4 pages long so far.
Get excited.
Is there a time that you're working within, or from all
no,
TV
it's all
history?
of it. But there's a if you look at it, it's a suspiciously. There's a time where it's like, everything stops before like 2017. Like
Lane said, man-made art, and this indicates the one's first heartbreak. An emotional piece for sure. AI art. I mean, it looks cool. I'd make it my background.
What if the guy creating the AI art by pushing some buttons was going through a breakup at the time he was pushing those buttons and crying as he hit his keyboard on his mouse, looking for any distraction from the poor wench that broke his
then
heart.
You're reading into the intentions.
No. Yes, I am. Brett. Well, I'm on your playing field right now.
Tears in the algorithm.
Bad Up said spirit guides are like guardian angels, Shane.
Oh, like in that sense. And I was thinking of like the taking drugs part and
I was thinking ayahuasca
stuff like that.
I
haven't met him, but I think that's a lovely idea.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Shane, so much.
Of course.
Let everyone know where they can find you, my friend.
Yeah, so Tales from the Inverted World is on timcast.com. We are 3 episodes away from finishing the season. This next few episodes are pretty wild. We're going to get to the Georgia Guidestones pretty soon that I saw right before they were destroyed. Talked to some interesting people. Like I just talked to a lady who was running for governor of Georgia, and on her campaign, shout out to Dr. Candace Taylor, her executive order number 10 before the guidestones were destroyed were to destroy the guidestones.
Whoa.
She was going to bulldoze them over. So she actually got swatted over that.
Someone beat her to it.
I know. So a lot of interesting folks, crazy stuff. And you can also get the volume 1 book at invertedworldbook.com. And if you want to follow me, I'm Shane Cashman everywhere.
Perfect, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Love it.
Mary, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram or WeChat at CloserKitty, and whenever I post articles on timcast.com, I promote them there.
Perfect. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with us today through all the problems that Shane's presence here caused.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
We appreciate it.
This is the last time I'm on.
It's
no more power surges.
It's the bad
once I'm gone.
vibes given from whenever Shane cancels from the week before.
It's from
when
those
he's busy.
Christian witches, man.
That's
I know.
what it is. So again, thank you guys so much for sticking with us through the trials and tribulations that was this episode of Pop Culture Crisis. If you would like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. For the show, we are here, barring any weather problems, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, or Spotify if you would prefer to listen rather than watch. I don't know why you would, but you can do that. Social media, we are on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We will be back with another episode, hopefully rain-free, tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.